Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show before the show. There is no Hunter today.
Thank God.
I mean, let's be honest. We're everyone's kind of nice
Yeah.
to Hunter. We don't give Hunter a lot of shit.
Well, let's listen. Everybody
deserving.
is expecting us to go at each other's throat, but it's plot twist. We're gonna team up on Hunter today.
We're just gonna gang bang Hunter.
Yeah, we're gonna gang bang Hunter right in the booty hole.
So speaking of Hunter, we're literally, as soon as Ethan sits down, we just get into conversation, and it's good conversation. I'm like, Danny, start the podcast. We're missing this stuff. So what were we talking about?
We were talking about me getting drunk at 11 years old.
Okay, yeah. So
11 or 12.
So I said something like, those hard alcohol drinkers, they can really
Yeah.
He said he was with someone, and we're not going to say his name, but he was with someone, and he's like sipping on a beer, and the dude's like 18 shots in, and he's like, how's this guy functioning?
Yeah.
So then Ethan says, I did most of my drinking from when I was 11 to 17. And I'm like, 11? Okay, so
yeah.
start there.
Well, like you said, hillbilly from Central PA, grew up on a farm, 300 and some acre farm. It was kind of tradition that like the boys in my family got drunk at 12 years old.
Okay.
And
you like jump started that early.
Oh yeah.
At 11.
I got I think it was a 4th of July party my cousin was having, and I was always the beer guy. Like, hey, go get us a beer. So I would go fetch a beer for like a handful of beer for all these guys. And next thing I know, I'm like, screw it, I'm going to start drinking one every time I go get one. So I'm like 5 beers deep, trashed. And like 11 or 12 years old, rode my motorcycle back up to the camp with my brother and his buddies and stuff. And we were up there. And
dude, could you imagine getting a DUI at 11?
Oh. Somebody told on me, and my parents come up, and we seen the lights coming while we're at the camp, and I'm like, I'm gonna go inside and act like I'm sleeping, because
because you will be as soon as you lay down.
And so I go inside and act like I'm sleeping, and my mom and dad pull in. Dad didn't get out of the car, which thank God. Mom got out of the car that night and said, Robbie, where's your brother? And he's like, he's in the camp sleeping. She goes in there and she gets me up. She's like, stand up. And I stand up. She's like, you been drinking? I said, no. And she goes, let me smell your breath. And of course I went, crack. Dude,
Across the face?
Oh my God. I went from my feet. Like, my mother is the only person that's ever dropped me with hands.
No, I'm Tobias got you.
I didn't get dropped.
Well, I mean, you were close.
Yeah, I got clipped, and then I hit a takedown. But yeah, my mom knocked me from my feet to my ass, and then made me go home. And I just remember when I got down to the house, then Dad come in the room. I went up in the bed, and then Dad come in the room, and he had a leather belt, and he just freaking smacked me across the ass with it like 4 times.
Wait, you said your family was all drinking.
Yeah,
but your parents weren't there.
No, they were there.
So they didn't know.
It was so my aunt was my next door neighbor, my aunt, my uncle, and she had 2 boys that were way older than me and my brother.
But like old enough to be
drinking. They were like college age, right out of college or something. And he just built her oldest son just built a house in between my dad and my aunt. And he had a big party. They always did a 4th of July party, and the party was like between 2 houses because my cousin Sean's house wasn't quite done yet. But we were in his driveway setting off fireworks and stuff, because it was literally a walk. I mean, it was walking distance. And the beer was like up at my aunt's, so I would have to go up to my aunt's, and there was just a little wee tiny patch of woods. I'd like walk through to get the beer to bring back down to my cousin and all them, and then I would just drink one on the way down.
So the beer, like when you was that the first time you tried it?
No, I tried it when I was young.
Yeah,
but
I think everyone parent let them
was,
have a sip, and then they're like, "Yeah, you don't want to drink
exactly."
this.
Yeah, I think that's what it. Because I remember when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my dad chewed Timberwolf, and I was like, "Nah, what's that? I want to try that. Here you go." And, it was like, oh,
there is no sick like swallowing chew spit sick.
And then
man,
and now I chew. So So that didn't work.
Do you swallow your spit?
No, not usually.
Like
it'll create stomach ulcers.
Heavy chewers I know that just swallow their spit they don't get sick.
I used to do that in high
school.
That's disgusting.
I say there's 3 things in this world that I'm good at, right? And that's digging a hole, chewing a skull, and whooping ass. That's 3 things I'm good at.
And making little girls.
Yeah, making little girls. That was it. I didn't think I was going to be good at that part. I thought I was going to be good at making boys. But,
well, hey,
only
some of us are good at that.
Yeah, I might have to take some pointers, or either that, or you're just going to have to come visit the house or something.
Get
it done
for me. I mean, you have a very, very attractive wife, so like as my son pointed out to me, very, very like clearly. So I mean, if you need stud service, like
well, I mean, I don't know if I want them jeans.
I mean, hey,
in my household.
Listen,
but
if you want a boy, you got to go to extreme measures.
I guess if I mess up on the next one, and then it's like, oh man, then I'm
you
down
can't
to last resort.
Well, that's the thing is like with each one, like you got to be willing to have the same sex. So like if like we were like, okay, we have 3 boys, like we don't want more boys, so we're done trying.
Yeah.
I should have ended it at 1.
Hopefully,
0.
Hopefully the next one I can create a boy on. I just always like my whole life. I grew up just me and my brother. My parents had 2 boys, and my whole life I just always thought, oh, I'm gonna have 2 boys. I'm gonna have 2 boys. I'm gonna have 2 boys, and then here comes my daughter.
We're gonna tell that full story because I was privy to being a part of the full story once the real podcast starts. Folks, this is the show before the show. We're here live with Ethan, the Wolverine Goss, double champ. He and I, we tease each other a lot, but today it's a special day because we're gonna mainly focus on Hunter and and giving him a hard time since he's not here.
Yeah,
that's what like people do, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you pick where the picking's easiest, and right now the picking's easiest on the guy that's not in the ring that can't defend himself.
He's not gonna fight back. I mean, he might. Oh, you know what I should do?
He's probably on vacation, not even watching the podcast because he's a shitty employee.
He normally is all over like responding to people on Instagram and stuff, and so I will be monitoring Instagram and Facebook. I need to pull those up. Let's see here.
Pardon me if I cough every once in a while. I got the flu a week or 2 ago, and I got this contagious cough that I can't get rid of. This is the part where Hunter's better at than you.
Oh, Hunter's dad said, I'll fight for him. So that's the first thing I'm seeing on Instagram. We go actually legit live at 3:30. We still have 5 minutes. This is a show before the show. But yeah, we're gonna just talk smack on Hunter.
Yeah,
for at least half the show.
Don't worry, we're definitely going to throw digs at each other.
Of course,
100%.
there's already been a half of one or something. All right, now let me get onto Facebook. And we're also, for those of you that are already listening, we're also there's going to be a big announcement.
Yeah. I said in my post, you might hear some news, you might not. I guess you just got to tune in and listen.
You got to stick with it. You can't just bail on us. Where are we? I don't know my login. Okay, here we go.
There's a Facebook comment here from Drew Peterson. It says, I know for a fact that Ethan swallows.
Yeah. Thanks, Drew.
Notice there's zero surprise on my face.
Drew, and like Drew's a mutual friend of Hunter and I. I didn't even know he knew Hunter until, Hunter started working here at 247 and was the general manager here at 247. And then, he told me how he met Drew. I think Hunter's cousin played baseball with Drew. Drew was a pretty high level baseball player and played in college and stuff. But Drew was my brother's age, and Drew has a younger brother, Jake, that was my age. And so we kind of grew up, and back in the day that Drew's family had a barn that we used to party at. And we was either partying at my camp or Drew and Jake's barn all the time. Their Uncle Slug's barn. Stubby, they call him. He's missing. He's got like just a thumb and a pinky.
Stubby.
Yeah, he got it cut off in like a farming accident.
Interesting. Jared Billy's in the house. Ryan, the Ride Dog Middleton, and Ethan, the Wolverine Goss. How you guys doing today? We're doing very well, Jared Billy.
Jared Billy, that guy. It's toss up between him and Gary Lewis on who's the number one 247 fan. Them two are head to head.
They are, man.
Shout out to Jared Billy too. He he wanted to sponsor me in my last fight. Sent me some money on PayPal and stuff just because I had a kid on the way and stuff. Said he usually tries to help out like the amateur kids, which is great. You know what I mean? Shout out to him. Great dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And he wanted to send it my way for the last show, so it was a pretty cool thing.
That's awesome. Was that was Jared or that was
Jared? Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. We got to say we have some super awesome fans, and those two are like the leaders of the pack.
Oh yeah, between them and Russ. Russ is
it's just awesome.
Russ is always him and Larissa, man. They're a great time.
I got a good Russ Larissa story. But we'll have to wait until after 3:30. We're gonna start the actual podcast in 2 minutes. This is still the show before the show. Here with double champ Ethan the Wolverine Goss,
the man that built 247.
I think there's some other people that could lay claim to that.
Well, you always say 247 built me, so that's why I said man that built 247.
Well, you're a big part of why we are what we are. Like
but really between like in the early days, between me and Kama, we're the two that gave the pretty much took the chance.
And Showtime.
Yeah, Brett, Showtime, Schoenfeld.
Those were the three pros that were willing to you getting closer. Or? Doing a little work over there. Listen, Danny's always behind the scenes. This dude is like a workhorse. He's managing 17 different things. Yeah. He's playing with cameras. He's playing with lights. He's making sure everything looks great. We appreciate that.
Yeah. When he calls me, I usually know it's bad news. It's like Danny's calling me for something. Yeah, like the last show, I got called about my eye exam, and it was Danny, and I'm like, God damn, man. Like, come on, my exam's they're not accepting it.
Yeah, that's why I typically don't call fighters on fight week unless they know if they see it, it's probably bad.
Well, remember when Jim Three-Way called us just to screw with you about something? And you got like all pissed off
because it was fight week. Wasn't
it was like, literally fight week.
Yeah,
he was like, "Hey, so bad news," and like I knew he was joking, but I was like, "Why is he calling me?" And then you got like all flat. You're like, Jim, you can't do this on fight week. Yeah. Oh my God, hung the phone up.
I was pissed. Yeah,
dude, it was funny.
There's a thing like there's so much stress in this. And by the way, it's 3:30. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Combat Sports Podcast. We are excited to have you here. I'm here with the double champ, Ethan the Wolverine Goss, who, listen, it's early in the show. What better way to launch the show than to tell the fine folks the big news?
Oh, you want to go right off the bat?
You don't want to?
That's up to you,
or
man.
Should we like kind of make them wait?
It's up to you. Does not matter to me.
What Danny decides. Danny, do we say it now or do we wait?
Say it.
Say it.
Are you saying it or mine?
I think you should say it.
All right. Well, April 26th, right here in the Sunny Days Arena, in probably what is going to be the most high level, definitely title fight, high level fight ever put on in 247 promotion. It's going to be Pennsylvania's best versus California's best. Myself versus Brady Wang for the featherweight title in a fight that was supposed to happen last April. Unfortunately, I had the injury, the head surgery and stuff. Since then, both of us have went on to win And Brady and I have both spoke to each other via Facebook Messenger, and he wanted me to keep. He kind of held out for me, and took another fight that he needed to take as I come back at 155 pounds, and I gave him my word that we were going to meet, and now it's going down.
Now, that is awesome news. Let me tell you, folks, putting this high of a level fight together once is like a miracle. But to be able to do it a year later after, an injury, and to be able to make that bout happen again really is a great accomplishment, because it's very hard to get all the ducks in a row. As a matter of fact, you guys had kind of planned on getting back together and rescheduling this fight, and it didn't look like it was going to happen multiple times.
It's kind of like, you have a bad breakup with your girlfriend and you try again, it never works out. You know what I mean?
It never works out.
Never works out. So, but we was able to make it work out. And like you said, a little bit of date issues and stuff where we was trying to figure some things out, and other issues.
This one was actually, we thought this was just going to snap together immediately after your last fight, but
took a good month.
month
and a half
of figuring it out, and then
had to change some dates,
concerns, and then potential injury concern, and all these different things were happening that we're like, man, this might not happen.
Yeah.
And then there was the possibility of you having a fight in Las Vegas, and all of those things combined. But as the 247 gods have it, we were able to get this fight back together, which is very exciting. Let me tell you a little something about Brady. And I think his last name is, if the announcers on his last fight were correct and announcing it correct, Huang, I think, is how his last name. I think that's how it's pronounced, or at least how they were pronouncing it. But Brady is a super high level guy. He's been on Contender Series. He's fought a lot of guys that we're in the UFC.
Yeah. Andre Yule. He fought what was his name on Contenders? He made a big splash in the UFC.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
I can't remember what his name was. He was on a run until he ran into Rob Font.
Adrian Yanez.
Yeah, Adrian Yanez. Yeah, Adrian Yanez was who he fought on the Contender Series, which Adrian Yanez started out 4-0 in the UFC or something like that until he ran into Font.
Yeah, he's
had a little bit of. He ran into the elite before he started having any kind of trouble.
Yeah, he was 11-1, and then he fought that fight, and he went on a little losing streak there in 2021-22, and then he's picked it back up in October 22. Now he's on another 3-fight win streak.
Very dangerous.
Super dangerous
guy.
He can end a fight in an instant,
yeah,
and you don't even know you're in trouble. Yep. Next thing you know, you're tapping.
Yep.
Just to give you a little nugget here, his last two fights, his last two have ended in the first minute.
Oh yeah,
with a heel hook.
Yep.
And so in his last 3 fights, he's heel hooked all 3 of them. But just a super dangerous guy that can end a fight in an absolute instance. He's 14-4 as a professional, and very high level. This is probably the highest level fight, and as you were alluding to, and we're just so happy to get that back.
Yeah, even look at other regional promotions in their title fights as a pro, and look at the record matchup. On regional, not throwing anybody under the bus, but look at the record matchups at pro level on regionals. You'll see a lot of guys with losing records fight for a title, right? And this is the complete opposite. One guy on a 7-fight win streak, the other guy on a 3 or 3-fight win streak. You know what I mean? Both coming in with UFC caliber records. And hopefully this is the fight that like gets a lot of attention. You know what I mean? Gets a lot of notification from like the Instagram pages like MMA prospects and stuff like that, where they're zoning in and kind of zeroing in on this and looking at it as two next up high level guys.
I mean, this truly is, and I think that this fight, if it's not, I mean, it clearly should be winner heads to the UFC. I mean, there's
100%.
no ifs, ands, or buts about
yes.
it.
The winner should head somewhere. UFC, PFL, one winner should head somewhere.
So let's talk about, you're on this amazing win streak. You haven't been pretty much touched since right after COVID.
Yeah.
Looking back on your career, what things would you have done differently with the ability of hindsight? Like what are because I mean, essentially you were a 500 fighter until this 7-fight win streak, and that 7-fight win streak has been 7.
Yeah.
Has been against. Have every single fighter been a 500 or better fighter?
All but one.
Yeah. So
I think
at the beginning,
I think Gaffney was upside down. But the thing about Gaffney was, if you look him up, he was a Wisconsin state champion wrestler, and he had a 165-11 wrestling record.
Yeah.
So that's a dangerous fight.
Sure.
Right? Very dangerous fight against a high level wrestler. Like, if you win states in any state, you're a top tier guy. And, he had a ride to Minnesota and stuff. He just was academically had issues, and he wasn't able to go because of his academics and stuff. Shout out to Matt. He actually just retired from fighting. Good kid. Him and I got along well with him. A lot of respect with him. Wish him the best. But yeah, back to your question. It was a mental shift for me, really, is what changed. But I think just being in the right place. So, like, what people don't really understand is I started this at 20 years old, and I started it without a coach. I had like 2 guys that I trained with, and at the beginning, I was just a sparring dummy for a guy by the name of Tyler Saltzman. Guys back in the NOAFS days, like Dempsey and Mazzata and them and Isaac and them guys have been around a long time. They know exactly who Tyler Saltzman is. Like, that kid ran his mouth better than anybody. And I was just a dude that came in and got beat up by him. And, there was me, him, and a couple other people. And no real coaching. And so from that point on, I literally spent my whole amateur career in a bootleg operation, clear until I started as a pro, right? And it wasn't until after my pro debut that I lost, I started training under a man named Jason Dignan. He came to me in the back. He had some local fighters and was like, "You need to come see us. You need to come throw a gi on, see us."
And that gym was in Altoona?
Yeah.
And that was Dignan Brumbaugh?
Dignan Brumbaugh, yep. He had Dignan Brumbaugh, and he would do 2 days at his house. He had like an old storefront house in Glitzen, and had a big mat room in the old storefront. And that we would go to his house on Tuesdays and Thursdays and just train jiu-jitsu. And like, if nobody had a fight, we would train jiu-jitsu and then drink beer after and just bullshit. Like, it was just kind of like a cool thing we had going on. And when we locked in on a fight and it became serious, and for me to drive to Glitzen was an hour drive. So I would drive that, 2 days a week, but I had to make the shift. I had to do something different, right, than what I was doing.
So at the beginning, were you like taking it seriously, or
100%.
did you? Okay.
From the day I walked into the gym, so I trained at 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went into a gym. I trained. Life wasn't going so great for me, in my 18 to 20-year-old range. I never really told this story, like on a podcast or anything, but I got out of high school and my dad owned his excavating business, and I went to work for my dad. And, my dad and I are legitimately the same. Like, we are the same person. And when you have 2 people that are the same, father and son, and you got an 18-year-old kid, and an established older gentleman, as well as I do, sometimes that becomes a big explosion. You guys butt heads. We butted heads a lot, and he was hard on us. And, I was a young punk kid, wasn't disciplined, wake up late, show to work late, and I remember we were tearing a house down, and my brother was home from the military, and we were on our. Me and my brother went and unloaded the truck with all the stuff that we had, tore off this porch on this house, and we were pulling back in. And I remember as we were pulling back in, I seen my dad going off the roof of the house and like landing in the yard. And I was like, what the hell did he just jump off there? So we pull in and run over, and he's on the ground, rolling around. Like, what's going on? He fell off the roof and he broke his leg.
Mm.
And he's like, oh, my leg. And we're like, well, let's get you up and get you out of here. And he was like, no. He's like, this is who my dad is. He's like, no, we ain't going anywhere until you two finish taking the roof off that porch. So he sent me and my brother up on the roof. And we get up there and we start taking the rest of the tin off. And my brother yells down, like, oh, well, like, what'd you do? Like, what'd you do to fall off the roof? And Dad said, he's like, I thought there was one more screw left in the tin. He said, and I took it out, and it was the last screw, and he was standing on it. When he took it out, the tin shot out from underneath him, and he went off the roof. He no sooner, I'm not joking, like clockwork. He no sooner said that, and I did the exact same thing. And I pulled a screw, tin shot out from underneath me. My brother, he caught the piece of tin. I don't know why he didn't reach for me. He just reached out and caught the tin, and I went off the roof. But of course, I'm a 19-year-old kid that's nimble, and I literally hit the railing on the porch, did like a backflip, and like landed on my feet right beside my dad, and looked at him and was like,
"That's how it's done."
What's your problem? That was easy. And he's laying there like looking, and but it was the next day. I think it was Saturday. He wanted to work. Literally broke it. He broke his knee, and he's out there in shorts and slippers. And I didn't get out of bed that morning, Saturday morning. And I show up like at 10 o'clock, 10:30 on a freaking dirt bike, like ride out the road on a dirt bike and pull in there. And I just remember he lost his shit on me, fired me there on the spot. And we had a big blow up, and we actually went 4 years without speaking to each other. And we lived in the same house. Like, he didn't throw me out of the house or anything, but we just and we were always around each other, like family functions and stuff, but we just didn't speak to one another.
Like, never.
Yeah. We didn't talk to each other at all. And, you started growing a hatred. Like, he had one for me, I had one for him. And when you carry that around, it starts to become a bit of a burden. And so I trained a little bit, like at the gym at Lionheart and State College when I was 18, like, dabbled with it, nothing crazy. And, I screwed off for a couple weeks after that, did nothing. I was completely out of money. Finally got a job. My brother, he kind of made sure to take care of me during this time. He gave me like $100 to make it last a week until I got a paycheck. Like, I had to just, he gave me money to be able to do stuff until I got paid, from a job. And, that week that I started my job, I was like, you know what? Like, I knew Tyler Saltzman and him from the gym. So I'm like, it's now or never, I always wanted to do this. So I went and just started going to the gym and literally walked in. Tyler made me spar him the first day. Got the shit beat out of me.
I know the pain.
Oh, threw up. Yeah, I went in the back and threw up and stuff, and just kept showing up. And kept getting beat on. But when I would go to that gym, like, when I got to the door, walked through the doors, it was like all my life's problems stayed at the doors. And when I was in the gym, it became my outlet, like, to not think about anything but what I was doing. And so that was why I felt like I went down the rabbit hole with it. Like, it was like, oh, I just, like, this is my outlet. This is what I need. So I ended up,
So from day one, like, you knew you wanted to compete.
Yeah, it was like a bucket list thing. I wanted to compete. I literally trained. I think I walked in the gym at the end of September, and I had my first fight November 9th. I think it was November 9th of 2012. So I had 1 month of training, basically, and took a fight and lost that fight. I lost the decision in that fight, and then it was like, well, I need to win one. So then I won one, and then I won again, and then I won again, and I won again, and then it was like, oh, then the rest is history. Here we are now sitting here at the table, talking about fighting career.
So you go, you start out your pro career,
Yeah.
and you got to a point where
I started out 0-2.
You got to a point where you're 5-6.
Mm-hmm.
You just lost 2 fights. They were both for us.
Yep.
And one of the fights you didn't even really want to take, but it was right after COVID, and there weren't many options, and we really didn't give you an option.
I didn't have interest in it solely because like I had a lot more fights than him, and he was always in a different. We're talking about Ethan Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
He was always in a different weight class than me, and I never even looked at him as a possible competition. And I think at the time he only had 2 fights. I think he was 2-0, and COVID was happening. People weren't training. We were still training. We would go to the gym and train. Ray would let us still train, but
illegal training.
Ended up we you guys were going to do a show, which was surprising in the first place, and that was the only fight on the table, right? Because there's no crowd. You had no way to make any kind of money other than pay-per-view stuff. There's no like revenue coming in for it. So it's like you can't afford to fly somebody in from California. It's like, okay, we got to pin 2 local guys with 2 local guys. And at this point, I've already fought every other featherweight in Pittsburgh. I did that my whole amateur career. And
some of them you did twice, like Richie.
Yeah, Richie. Yeah, I had to fight him twice. But yeah, and that was the only fight on the table when I wanted to fight. I didn't want to not compete.
So that fight happens. You're now upside down record, 5-6.
Yep.
Was there ever a point where you soul searched and said
that fight?
Yeah, after that fight,
yep. That fight, 100%. I remember going to the back, sitting in the back, my head down. Darren and Caden and Ray and them were there, and I just remember looking at them, being like, maybe I'm done. Maybe I don't have it no more. Maybe I peaked. Because it was frustrating because I had such a great training camp for that, and then I went in there and just 100% totally like did not perform, right? And I tell people this all the time, like I have 6 losses as a professional, and the only reason I have 6 losses as a professional is because I was not good enough those 6 times. No excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? I just was not good enough. And that's the cold, hard truth when you lose in this game. You're not good enough, no matter what happens. I don't care if it's even a split decision or anything like you think it's a bad call. You're not good enough. If you were good enough, you wouldn't have been in that position, right? Mm-hmm. And so I put all that weight on my shoulders where it was like, this is on me, 100% on me. I wasn't mentally in the right place that night. I thought I was, I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And from that point on, I remember the next day was deer season because it was the first day deer season started on Saturday or Sunday. First year that rifle season started on a Sunday, and I got to be in the woods by myself all day long to just sit there and think. You know what I mean? You're sitting there like waiting for deer, and you just can't. So
how many people were just wishing that was the day you turned that gun around?
Yeah.
Man, he's still kicking.
Yeah. That was pretty rude, man.
Hey, man, that's what.
But yeah, I just sitting there thinking, and it was like, more I'm thinking like I can't be done. Like I gotta find it. And I remember being nervous for the Gaffney fight because I was like, this is do or die.
Yeah, this is like I lose 3 in a row.
Yeah, this is it. Like I lose 3 in a row. Like I'm just gonna be, even if I continue to fight, I'm just gonna be, mediocre at best. And so it was do or die for me, and it ended up doing it. And we got the finish against Gaffney quick, and from that point on, the next fight was not an easy one. We got
there was a legendary one, the Undertaker slam.
Yeah, we got Skylar Sudo out of Ground Control in Maryland, and he come right out of Bellator. His last fight before me was right in Bellator. He was undefeated kid to Bellator, lost to one of their like good guys that they were really pushing, lost the decision to him. And so I knew it was going to be tough. And I remember Darren even says, like, to this day, he was like, I remember going to the venue and talking to Caden because me and Dan both fought that night. Dan fought Pip that night. And Darren was like, if these two ain't on, we could easily go 0-2 tonight. Easily go 0-2. And I had a great warm up. I got in the ring. I just remember we kind of danced around for the first 10, 15 seconds. And he like stepped to me like to engage. I remember just unloading a left hand that hit him, like cracked him flush. And it like kind of surprised him, I think, because he said to me about he didn't think I was going to be that fast. And in my head, I didn't even mean to throw the punch. It it just became like muscle memory. Like I remember landing it and being like, "Oh wow,
I just did that."
Yeah, like that was quick.
Thanks, Darren.
Yeah, and it's just like it's like all the training just started to click that night.
Yeah,
and like I started to go after it more in the fight, and of course, we ended up having the fight that we did, and that was before the award ceremonies and all that stuff. But we would have been 100% fight of the year that night for that year. But
that was one of my favorite fights ever. I mean,
yeah, that was back and forth, man. That was a nail biter.
I remember there's been probably, I don't know, eight times during the promotion that I like stood up after the fight and just clapped for both fighters.
That fight came together on, was it like 3 weeks?
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember, that was the one that we signed the contract like 6 times. And, and then we'd sign, and then it was like, oh, they pull out. Like one dude got arrested or put in jail or something, and like another guy got injured, and another guy was sick.
Crazy. This is a crazy sport.
It just was one after another. And I remember you asking me, why won't you fight Sudo? I'm like, dude, who the hell is Sudo? Like at this point, you and I never spoke about Sudo. You were trying to match Sudo, I believe, with Hayes at some time prior, and you thought you just.
I thought it was you. Yeah.
And you were like, why don't you want to fight? I was like, who are you talking about? And then you told me, and then we looked him up, and it was like, well, we're down to, we only got 2.5, 3 weeks left, and we might as well.
Let's do it.
Let's fight. Because it was the Johnstown card too, and I needed to be on it just because it was so close to home, right? And it was the first time anything happened back in Johnstown, and we needed to be on it. So it was like, okay, whatever, we'll take it. We knew what kind of fight it was going to be going in, but
I think your story is a prime example of how much the mental aspect of this fight game matters.
Yeah, 100%.
And like, and if you can gain that early, if you can figure out how to be mentally strong, and I'm not just talking about like being arrogant, or I'm talking about like
you got to find out. So one of the things people always say, and you've said this a lot, and I've said it a lot, be who you are, but turn the volume up. But nobody knows who they are, right? And they got to figure it out. And you're going to find out who you are when you step in a cage with another guy that's trying to beat you, right?
Well, what I always say is you're going to find out if you actually want to be a fighter the first time you get your ass kicked.
Exactly. Like you're going to find out.
Everyone likes to beat people up, but who actually wants to be a fighter? Because being a fighter means, unless you're John Jones, you're going to be on the failing end sometimes.
100%. You were literally like, there's no such thing as a perfect fighter. There is no such there's just
people that they haven't figured out the right recipe.
He did not find his equal. He retired before he found his equal. Could have Beeb kept going and somebody probably would have matched him? Yeah, absolutely. It just happens. That's why John Jones's run is so spectacular.
Yeah, it
like
really
decades worth of at the highest level, right?
With the ability of hindsight, looking back on John Jones' career, and you look at who he fought and when he fought them, he never really fought guys that were in their prime. He fought guys that were in their prime. Like he never fought the elite guys when they peaked.
I mean, Shogun was the champion when they fought.
Yeah, but
and Bader was on a run.
Well, that was before I thought that was pre-Bader. Like,
yeah, Bader was what, like 11-0 or something, 10-0, something like that. Bader was, I mean, one of those two was next in line, and Jones made it look easy.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
And then, Machida was still there. You know what I mean? He had lost, but he was still he's only lost once.
I mean, Machida was really an 85er, I feel like.
Quentin was kind of starting over
He
the
was
hill.
on the down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was at the top of the hill on the other side,
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the time, like he beat a lot of huge names,
100%.
but it was always like kind of on there.
Then to come back,
he's awesome.
And
Best ever.
Absolutely make Cyril Gahn look like an amateur.
He did.
Who was like everybody thought that was the guy at heavyweight. That's the next guy at heavyweight, and he just exposed Cyril Gahn like nobody else has.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not. Listen, John Jones is the GOAT, and I still feel like the big names he beat, a lot of them.
I mean, timing. Yeah,
timing was.
I mean, it's kind of like Floyd Mayweather's. When he fought Pat, he probably should have fought Pacquiao 5 years before he did, but they met when they met.
All right, so let's go back to this. So you get on this run, you beat Gaffney, you beat Sudo, and that Sudo was a good upset. Like, he was less experienced, but I think he was definitely favored.
Yeah, I was definitely the underdog in that fight. Like according to Tapology and stuff, he was 100% the favorite.
Now, what? So you then we've put you against Kevin Barberina.
Yeah,
and lineage there coming out the wazoo. Was that intimidating at all?
No.
That fight almost didn't happen, remember?
Yeah. I didn't know that until after
was
the
that
show.
that fight?
Yeah. I didn't know that shit until after the
Okay,
show.
Danny, remind me exactly what happened. I remember telling Ray, and like they were like, yeah, we can't tell him. Like, I'm like,
yeah, they kept it from
I told you after the show.
Yeah, it was my first show with 247.
Yeah.
And like it was, the fighters were still getting COVID tested.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was
he came up positive.
Yeah. That was crazy. Like,
luckily,
the
they let
day
him do a
of the fight.
Yeah, same day. And then like he retested and it was a false positive.
But then he had to retest again.
Yeah.
So he had to get 2 negative tests to the one.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But so,
dude, that was the main event. Like, I was flipping out.
You knew that I wanted to get back to title contention. Like after losing to De Jesus, dropping the first time fighting for the belt against De Jesus and then losing to Hayes. Like, you knew I wanted to get back to title contention. So I beat Gaffney. K1 fight. We got more work to do. If Sudo and I wouldn't have turned out the way that it did, right, and it just would have been a snooze fest fight and I won a boring decision or something, I wouldn't have gotten a title shot, right? Because you explained to me like you had no intentions on giving me another title shot, but because we put on what we put on that night, we got.
That was also the first like cash bonuses behind the scenes.
Yeah, there was so for other fighters that fight on the card, you put on one hell of a show, you'll get a cash bonus. We won't disclose the amount, but Ryan did come to the back and pulled cash out of his pocket and gave it to me, and gave cash to Skyler for and he told us at that moment that was the best fight we've ever had in 247. Since then we've had. Can you believe
he hasn't fought again?
I must have retired him.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he's good, man. He
was very good.
And I remember, like, he fought at Bellator at 35, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I see him in person and I'm like, dude, that's a big dude for 45. Like, his shoulders and back. Like, he was a big guy. He was a strong kid, too. And I just, was able to get it done that night. And, we move on. Kevin Barberina's next. And I knew Kevin, obviously his brother.
Was that for a title?
Yeah, me and Kevin.
That was
the belt. Yeah.
Yep.
That was in 2022. April 22. Yeah.
Yep.
So, damn, I've been the champion for 3 years. Looking back at it, I mean, this year will be 5 years that I've lost a fight.
That's crazy. Last loss was November of 20.
Yeah, in November it would be 5 years. But yeah, we had Kevin, and I, did my film study on him, and he fought a guy I was familiar with right before me. I can't think of what his name is now. He's an older fighter, wrestler, real heavy wrestler guy. He fought in a couple of the
Jeff
Ultimate
Holmes?
Yep, Jeff Holmes. Yep. And he beat Jeff, but he was getting taken down a lot. Like Jeff was kind of controlling the fight, and then I don't know if he gassed out or what, but Kevin just ended up submitting him. And so I'm like, all right, this is gonna be a good fight. But that was the fight that I turned the Jets on, because I just remember coming out of the gate, right off the bat, and I think it was like in the first 2 minutes, I dropped him with that knee, landed them real heavy body shots, and there was an eye poke or something that they stopped it for a second. I could just tell by his body language that he was like, wasn't expecting to be where he was at. And when a fight starts like that, which it can happen to any one of us, that is a hard thing to battle back and overcome from. Like, you got to make a mental shift and you got to do a physical shift, right? So you got to make adjustments. And I tell this to young fighters all the time. Every single fight, there's going to be some kind of adversity where you are going to have to improvise, adapt, and overcome, right? So you have to make adjustments. On fly, in ring adjustments have to be made almost every single fight, right? Unless you go out and knock a guy out and the first punch you throw, something's going to get changed. And a perfect example for that was me and Solo Hatley. In the first couple minutes of that fight, Solo was dragging me into his style. He was really great at pull countering, getting his guys to overextend. And Solo had one hitter quitter, put you to sleep power. And I felt that, I felt me get overextended and him try to counter me. And luckily he missed. And the famous groin shot happened. And I was laying on my back holding my jewels. The whole time I was thinking, I got to change how I'm fighting him. I got to change how I'm already, we're only a minute and a half, 2 minutes in. I'm already falling into his game plan. So when I got back up and started going again, I went to a point fighting style. So when I started to point fight him, now I'm controlling the range and he can't get his timing for his explosion. I'm not overextending on anything. Touch, touch, touch. So I force him to come in at when he's not quite ready, or he tries to force an engagement, and then I would explode. And I caught that kid with a couple knees, couple high kicks. I remember Teepa kicking him right in the face with a rear teep. Like, that kid just had a chin. Like, I thought for sure that I was gonna. I did knock him down to a knee at one point in the fight, but yeah, I had to totally change how I fought him.
Crazy
in order to get the job done.
That fight was only like one fight ago.
Yeah, which was over a year ago.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dybert, for breaking my hand. So
breaking your heart.
That was Tyler Dybert's fault.
That one was close to not happening too, right? Didn't Dylan Cole had to pick him up from the airport?
Yeah, his eye exam.
His eye exam. Yeah.
Because so 2 days out, he wasn't going to make weight.
Yep.
Right. And I get the phone call.
Yeah,
I think it was Thursday.
Yeah,
I got the phone call.
Ryan, you were pissed about that.
I was.
Well,
pissed.
yeah, you didn't want to give the 55-pound title.
Yeah, I didn't want. Like, you were doing your thing, you deserved it, but like now we're offering.
You didn't want him to have the chance.
Yes. Now we're offering a title fight to a guy who missed weight, and that's the biggest. Like, that's the biggest part I had the problem with.
The whole reason, though, that happened was because he was going to miss by a mile, right? Because I said, we'll do it at 50.
Yep.
We'll set the title side, do it at 50. And then you guys responded with, he's not going to make 50. I'm like, what's he going to make? They're like, he might make the next weight class up. Like, maybe. And I'm like, all right. I said, here's the deal. I'll go to 55, but we're putting a 55-pound title on the line.
And that's when I was like,
I'm fine with that, but I do not want him. And I just remember I told you, I was like, Ryan, I promise you the belt is not going to Arkansas. He's like, dude, you better not be lying.
You won by decision. It was a majority decision. Yep. So
yeah, I think
like, it wasn't
one judge gave it to him 29-28, but the other two gave it to me 30-27.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a lopsided split decision, which would be majority. Which I remember Chip told me in the bag, he said, I thought you won every round. You know, and
Well,
it was a close fight.
Majority, I thought, was a
No,
split is one going one way.
Yeah,
Isn't a
split would
majority
be
a draw and 2 wins?
exactly. I had 2 wins. A split would be a 29-28 for him, 2 29-28s for me. A majority was 2/3 20 because I remember them
No,
announcing
because
it.
the scores don't matter.
I remember it
The
being
majority is a draw and 2 wins for you.
I didn't think it was a draw.
Well, I think if it's split regardless of the scores.
They announced it a majority decision, and I know
we'd have to go back and look at the scores because if it was what you said, it should have been a split. A split is one way and 2 the other.
I'm pretty confident it was 2 30-27s and a 1 29-28 for him.
So then that would be a split.
Yeah, I was pretty confident that was a scorecard for that. But
yeah, majority would be. Yeah, majority is 2 guys on one and a draw on the other.
If I would have had another 30 seconds in that second round, I would have submitted him because I had a guillotine. Because he shot at the end of that round, and I had a guillotine. And he even said that in Luke's interview. Luke's like, how do you think the fight's going to go? He's like, either I knock him out or he wins a decision or he submits me. It's like, I mean, at least the dude's honest.
Accurate.
Yeah, at least the dude's honest.
Yeah, he was overly honest about he might submit me.
Yeah, he's a good ground guy. So he might submit me. Yeah.
What's your favorite whole career? Doesn't matter if it's 2 versus 7 or anything. Well, what's your favorite in cage moment? Is there one that sticks out?
Favorite in cage moment. Winning the double champ status was up there. Having the Bellator crowd cheer for me the way they did was,
but they were all booing
after the decision was announced.
No, they were booing ladies and gentlemen, Ethan Goss, boo. Yeah. He's like, I hear it the way I want to hear it.
Hey, sometimes you got to set them headphones on what you got to set them at. That one was cool because that was the biggest crowd that I ever fought in front of. We were at Bryce Jordan Center. It was always a goal to try to fight there.
How many people do you think were there?
10.
Yeah.
I think it was 10,000, 10, 11, something like that. I mean, they had a fairly successul show.
Yeah.
At that.
Well, they had the Penn State guys on the card.
Yeah, they had
Chris Dempsey. He was there.
Because he fought Ed Ruth.
Yeah.
Ruth, Phil Davis, and I think there was one more that was on that card. And then, of course, I was a local guy, and an old teammate of mine, Mike Putnam, he was on that card.
See, I don't know Mike at all.
Yeah, Mike's a good dude. He's, I would say, retired now. He's a few years older than me.
Did he fight after that?
Yes.
He fought for years?
Yeah, he did. But he fought it would be once every 2 years or something. Because I went to Ohio and cornered Mike against Drew Schottenheimer. And he won. And then Mike's last fight was against Ced Montanez for AOW. And then from that point on, he took some other business adventures and moved away.
That was in 19. So that was right when we were starting.
Yeah, I think you guys talked to Mike once or twice about matching him. I think there might have been something between him and Patton early. They might were looking to match him too. But at that point,
Patton wasn't pro then.
No, this was Mike tried to come back. This was after ATT Happy Valley started.
Okay.
And he was training over there. And
I remember that.
Serb was on this big kick about, oh no, you're
been
inactive.
out too long.
How are you supposed to get active?
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you won't let them fight. And I think there was at that point you guys were trying to set that up, putting feelers out and stuff. And then
Putnam faced a murderer's row as an amateur.
Yep. Jericho, Healy,
Nick Brown.
Yep.
Dude, Mark Jericho, Nick Brown. What?
Putnam started out really, really good and then kind of phased off, you know what I mean, as it went on. But Mike's a great dude. We still stay in touch.
Yeah.
And it was after ATT opened up over there, I went over and trained with him once or twice and stuff like that. But
did he get knocked out at Bellator?
Mike, I think he lost TKO. He fought Scott.
It's just Scott Clymer.
Yeah. Well, he was a really good wrestler, and I don't know why Scott never fought again after that. Because I was originally supposed to fight Clymer. As I got shuffled around on that card a couple of times. I was supposed to fight the dude that Mike Trezano Mike Otwell. I was supposed to fight Mike Otwell. Then it was supposed to be Thad Frick. And then it was Hooch. He ended up not being on the card. And then it was supposed to be Scott Clymer. And then I ended up with Andrew Salas.
Hmm.
And that was just.
And what, did Salas ever have success after that?
I think he's 6-6, hasn't fought in probably, I don't know, 3-4 years.
This is a crazy sport because the people that
2021 was his last fight.
Yeah.
The people that you think like, oh, there's a lot there, and like life gets in the way.
Yeah,
like, and like
100%.
you realize like, hey, I
Yeah.
got this job, and like this isn't really making me money right now, and like there's no promises, and so
Andrew Salas had a mentally challenged brother that I think he took care of, because he had him at the weigh-ins and stuff with him. And I mean, he was somebody that needed catered to, constantly and stuff. So God only knows what he had to deal with, behind closed doors.
All right, what was your least favorite in cage moment?
Well, getting submitted by Hayes sucked.
Yeah.
Getting my ass kicked by John sucked.
No, you got to pick one.
Probably the most disappointing was the Hayes fight, right?
Yeah.
I handled I just thought I was outclassed against the Jesus. I wasn't ready to be in that position yet. Hayes, everything was great, and I failed.
See, I feel like there was something. I don't know if it. I feel like you mentally, and maybe some of it had to do with, I know you trained a lot with John afterwards, and like you spent time in the gym with him, and I think you realized,
he beat me up in the gym too.
Yeah, well, but I think you realized that, like, how I don't know.
I realized
you've changed mentally.
I realized I needed to be in front of people like him more. So that was when I started making the trips to Pittsburgh. And I got to be in front of him and Kama, and that at the time I think Patton was still building, but him too. All these higher level guys. I got to be in front of.
We just missed that. We just missed you and Patton fighting. Like if there were just a little bit of world differences, like that fight happens.
I told Russ, because Russ was like, "Oh, I want to see you two fight." I was like, "You want to see us fight? You got to come to the Mat Factory on Sundays or Stout on Saturdays when I'm here. Like then you get to watch us fight."
Well, and even like there was like back like a couple years ago, Lucas Siebert would say like, "Oh, the best 145er in Pittsburgh," and I'm like, "Well, does that mean?"
And he is.
Does that mean he? Well, to me, I'm going. Does that mean he thinks Justin's better than Ethan, or does that mean that like he doesn't think Ethan's from Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I didn't know.
I mean, I never really looked into or thought into it much. Like, everybody's going to hype their boy. Since then, Siebert and I have become pretty good friends, and we've trained together a good bit. But Patton, him and I we're the same. Like, we think the same. We train the same. Like, we're on the same page a lot. And when we train together, it's a constant, like, I'm after him and he's like, we're both trying to get each other, but it's all like love and respect. Like one of us catches something on the other one, or one of us like hits one with the other, and or hits a good shot on the other. We're like, oh yeah, touching gloves and stuff like that. And if we fought, that would probably we'd be touching gloves more time than we would be fighting.
Yeah.
And but there's got to be a lot of money on the line, for him and I to fight.
Now,
I say a lot of money.
I'm saying back when he was transitioning
and kudos to him, because it got brought up to him long before it got brought up to me about us fighting, and he opted to say there's no point in me dampering his career, him dampering mine. Like, and we literally we've built off each other. Like, he showed me some things, I've showed him some things, like just technique stuff like that, and we both like picked it up and built off each other. Now all we do is send stupid memes to each other on Instagram and Facebook all the time and make fun of people. So it's like a weekly thing. I think at least a couple of times a week we're sending stupid memes and stuff back and forth. But but him, like, I got the utmost respect for him because I know where he came from. and he knows where I came from.
Well,
And we both started like kind of the same
well,
way.
that's what exactly
Yeah.
I was going to say. So he, like you were saying, I was the gym like
Yep.
ragdoll, like I was, and like he says the same thing. Like I was the guy that was getting beat up all the time, and like so.
And we both started the same way. We both started out, made mistakes, got caught, got beat. You know what I mean? Figured it out. He just was able to do it faster than I was, right? And that's why he's on the run that he's on. But it's also like his mentality, how he's training, and who he's training with, right? And who he's being coached by, right? Chris Williams, I have
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I have. I can't say anything better about his coaching style, and I feel like once you get to a certain level in the fighting, like I think a lot of people maybe look at his drills and be like, "Oh, it's he's just doing basic. He's just doing 1-1-2s, 1-1-2s, step off." You know what I mean? That's drilling. That is what real drilling is, right? And I think once you get like higher level, you start to realize you repeatedly focus on the basics, right? And basics win fights. Chris knows that. And Carly and Patton are prime examples of it working, right? Look at where Patton was against who was that kid that he lost to? Lonez or something?
Devin Lozay.
Look at where Patton was in the Lozay fight. Look at him now.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Look at the difference. Look where Carly was at against the chick she fought at the casino that she got submitted by. And then look.
Wendy and Nunson.
Yes. And look at her last fight.
Absolutely.
Right? Two, like, completely, both of them were completely different. 100% different. That's listening to your coach and doing all the right things.
I got to catch up on some comments here. I don't even remember what exactly I said that Kama's flipping out about, but Kama said, Ryan, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He was the champion. He was fighting the number one contender overtime. I don't know what that means.
John Jones, maybe.
Overtime. Oh, yeah. He's talking about John
Jones. Yeah. I mean, it is a dumb. Kama, I agree with you, brother. Ryan's an idiot.
I think he's the best ever, Kama, just to be clear. And looking back, he was never fighting. He wasn't often fighting.
You felt like
a prime guy.
You felt like he didn't fight the guys at their peak.
No.
You felt like
he fought the best at the time.
Exactly.
But I didn't think he fought that guy when that guy was at his best.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
And that's not his fault. I'm just saying, like, that's all. So eat it, Kama. Boom.
Dude, Kama, punch him in the face when you see him.
Ty Polk said Drew did say majority decision at the end, but the scores do list it as split, like Ryan said, so you're both are right. Okay. Charlie Gathers thinks that I'm the man.
You're the man, or I'm the man?
I mean, he says the man. I'm just assuming he's talking about the good-looking guy.
That would be me. Just ask Luke. That would be me.
You're handsome. Handsome.
If Patton and I are going to fight, it's going to be who's going to be the most handsome man in MMA. That's what
there's no fight between you two. If you guys fight, it has to be a lover's quarrel. That's it.
And there better be like $100,000 on the line for both of us.
The first, okay, I'm going back over to Facebook. Instagram. Jared Billy said, Ryan, could this potentially be the first 5-round championship fight for the 247 puts on? Actually, there has been a 5-round fight.
It
didn't go 5 rounds. It only went 2. But John DeJesus versus Ethan Goss was scheduled for 5 rounds. How does that work? Okay, so we are not forcing anyone to do 5 rounds. Listen, this is MMA at a level where your compensation does not meet your life.
Yeah.
Like you're giving up way too much. So to add 2 rounds to a fight,
you're fighting 2/3 of a fight.
Correct.
Right? To add 2 rounds. So if you're going to fight 5 rounds, you best be paid for them extra 2 rounds. And that's not a knock on the promotion or anybody on the pay scale or nothing. Right? How many times have I said we'll do what's best for business? Right? I understand the game. You got to make money, and so do I. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be unrealistic and ask you for something crazy which is crazy, way more than I might sell you in tickets, right? Because not only does my ticket sales have to cover my fight, it also has to cover my opponent, right? Because I'm considered a hometown guy. I'm the guy selling tickets. Brady Wang isn't going to sell you, $5,000, $10,000 in tickets coming from California. Although Victor Lapari did, but he's different.
He lived here.
Exactly.
He's from here.
So I understand that, right? And I understand, but if I'm going to fight 5 rounds, I want compensated for 2/3 of the fight.
And that's the thing is like if a champion,
like if I got hit up by Fury Fighting or LFA and they say, hey, you want to fight for the title? It's going to be a 5-round fight. Yeah, sure, but I'm being paid for the extra. Like if they send me an offer and they throw something low, I'd be like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like if I'm fighting 5 rounds, you basically chalk it up to being paid for by round.
Yeah, the only person. So when a champion is defending their belt, we'll give them a choice. Like, hey, like if you want this to be 5 rounds, if you would prefer it to be 5 rounds, great. Otherwise, it'll just be 3.
I think 5 rounds favors me in majority of the fights.
Well,
because I have insane cardio and being able to like get better as the fight goes on.
Because you have no hair to weigh your head down.
I lost it all. You know what I mean? Working with people like you,
well, that'll do
causes you to lose hair follicles.
Do you only wear clothes that have like some part of your name on it? Because that says Wolverine, that says Goss.
Does that say Wolverine?
Yeah.
Oh well, I represent. You know what I mean? This is my Goss excavating hat.
Yeah.
And I just got to represent my company that I work for.
It matches your outfit. You like your wife dressed you today, didn't she?
She did not.
She 100% did. There's no way you'd match.
Big Mama did not dress me.
Big Mama.
That is, if you see my wife, anybody that sees my wife,
she likes
refer to her as Big Mama.
Just like, don't even say hi, Kaylee. Just say Big Mama. Yeah, she loves it.
If you guys don't know who my wife is, she was like 115 pounds before she got pregnant. So it's pretty funny because she doesn't like it.
I'm trying to catch up on any other comments. This first one I ever watched him under. Oh yeah, Jared Billy made a comment. The first one I ever watched, Ethan, that Undertaker slam was what got my attention. LOL. So the Skylar Sutho fight, if you've never seen it, there's an awesome like slam that looks very much like
when they did the snippet where it was like 10 pictures.
Yes. When it was live, I didn't see that, but when they did the frame by frame pictures,
it looked like I grabbed him by the throat and just picked him up and
choke slammed.
But in reality, I caught his kick and went to kick his leg out from underneath him, and he jumped. And as he jumped, I put my hand on his neck and shoulder and slammed him to the mat.
It was awesome.
And I just remember we were so sweaty when he hit the mat. We were in the center when that happened. And he hit the mat, and I went to go down on top of him, and he just slid
all the way
the whole way to the cage. And I just was trying to catch him. It's like, damn.
Well, that's what I think when I see those outdoor fights,
dude.
Like I see those people slipping and sliding. I know Edwin fought one where the cage was just
my first pro title fight against Jordan Morales out of
wait, you had a pro title fight before
WCC? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was 2-2. Back to what I was saying earlier about guys fighting for pro titles. Should have never been fighting it. He was 5-2 or something. He was out of Tim Bosch's gym in Bloomsburg, Sunbury, PA. Outside, August 13th, on the home plate of the Lancaster Barnstormers Stadium. 113 degrees that day. 100% humidity. And we were in the back, in the locker room.
Could you walk on the cage on the floor?
Dude, it was so hot. Yeah. You could, but
you had to move.
You're not thinking about it too. So if you would have walked in there, and you would have been like, what the? This is,
dude. Yeah.
But
that's the last thing you need when someone's trying to kill you.
I remember Serb coming in the back saying, "Listen, heat index is dangerous." Going on about it. He's like, all fights are being cut the rounds are being cut by a minute. So I fought 3 4-minute rounds. The amateur guys that night fought one 1 minute or 3 1-minute rounds.
What? That's nuts.
And they flip-flopped the card for some
Pros
reason.
first.
Pros first. They were running pros first. And they had a bunch of pro fights that night. There's like 5, I think. And I was like, damn it, I wanted to fight under the lights. Like I wanted to be outside in the baseball stadium and the lights were on. Luckily, mine played out to be under the lights. But it was a freaking slip and slide in there. I mean, we were all over the place. You throw a kick, you'd slip. You try to get up, like you were on top. Try to get up, your feet would slip out from underneath you. It was miserable that day.
What do you think about like the level? Like, I don't know, 10 years ago, amateurs, early pros, now and then.
Totally evolved.
Yeah.
Totally evolved.
I even see it in the 6 years we've been doing this.
100%. Yeah. These guys now, like back in the day, you could come right over from wrestling and just dominate, absolutely dominate. And now, especially even at the lower level pros, you know, if they're not actually training, actually putting the work in, actually in the gym, learning how to fight, you see it fail, right?
Yeah.
And the evolution of the sport, like Darren will call it, like first generation fighters and stuff. And that was to me that like Charlie Brenneman, you know, he was more in that first tier. Guys like that, you know, when I say first tier, like you go clear back to Hoist Gracie if you wanted to. Like Hoist Gracie dominated in a gi, but now it's a whole nother ball game, right? Everybody, I mean, and it's because 4-year-old kids are training jiu-jitsu, right? Like it's starting out at a young age because it's become so popular now. So it changes everything, right? And the game evolves and you got to evolve with the game. If you don't evolve with the game, you get left behind, right? And in this week, or in this game, you're basically a monthly flavor, right? So very quickly you get forgotten. And like for me, when I was out with the injury, you know, it felt like I was forgotten. And it wasn't that anybody did anything wrong. It was just, but I wasn't in the spotlight. I wasn't competing, right? It was other people were competing. So it's like people, you know, I'm great. October, that night that I beat Hatley, I was the man. Next show, somebody else was. Next show, somebody else was. Next show, somebody else was.
What about me, guys?
Yeah, and you're kind of like I'm still the champ.
Well, and
like,
that's the first time I thought I saw like an attitude from you about like
I had a lot of people jump me about that after the Rollins fight. It was like, dude, what was up with you? Like, what do you mean? Like, you just seemed arrogant. I had like a good friend that I used to work with. He's like, man, my wife, she didn't really like that part about you. And I was like, well, there was a bit of a reason for it. One, Rollins brought it out of me. And 2, I got a chip on my shoulder. Like, you know what I mean? Because you and I have had private conversations about this. Unfortunately, some of the right people don't view me as a prospect, right? And that's where my early mistakes come back to haunt me in my time now.
Yeah, if you look at your if you cut off your pro career and you started in 2022, like there's nobody that wouldn't say that, but like when you collectively look at the first,
if I would have started my pro career at the time I started at Gorilla House, I think I would be 9-2, right? Overall. But the first half of my career I struggled, right? And that was like comes back to haunt you later on because you're looked at as like, oh, he's got 6 losses by the bigger organizations and stuff like that, or managers or whatever. You know, and then they look at you as like, you know, you're a little on the older side. Like, not on the older side. If I'm so old, why am I beating these guys that are younger than me?
Well, your prime, like you're in
100%.
Like this is your prime right now.
Probably your prime's like probably 28 to 35. You know what I mean? Like that's your prime. And that's where look at the champions in the UFC.
And that'll probably change in 20 years from now. That'll probably get 40, lower. 45. No, I think it'll go lower because I think your prime, like physically, is like probably 25 to 28 or 9, right? But like I think as people start training, like the average person starts knowing jiu-jitsu at 4, like you said, I think that'll start to come lower.
So like where the kids start out young, right? you can really mess up there. Like, and you see it, especially in like kids wrestling, right? Everybody wants their kid to go win a state title. But when they
you're
graduate
pushing them
high
too
school,
hard, yeah.
Penn State, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, nobody cares if your kid's a 3-time PJW state champion, right? They care if he's a 3-time high school state champion, but not a PJW. Let them build, right? You got to let them build. And you see kids push. Obviously, the local kid, Bo Bassett, everybody's going insane over.
He might be good.
But he might be a little
bit good.
But, that kid pushes so hard. So hard. I don't know him personally, but I know the work ethic that he has. That's undeniable. That kid pushes so hard. And at some point, your body's going to start telling you no, right? Hopefully he's doing the right things. I think he's doing the right things. It seems like he's pretty well concerned on taking care of his body. I mean, hopefully he goes into college and doesn't have any injury issues and stuff like that and goes on to be a 4-time national champ. I wish the kid all the best. But you'll see that happen more often than you don't. You know what I mean? You'll see kids start to break, like their bodies break away before they get to point to where they could be their best, right? Everybody peaks differently. Cody Garbrandt, perfect example, 25 years old, undefeated phenom, world champion, right? His early part of his career was his peak, right? And
yeah, for sure.
For him to try to get it back, it becomes such a hard game.
Well, and everything I think that is his strength
is something you lose as you get older. His
yeah.
Speed, you know what I mean? The power that he possesses and stuff like that.
I still think he has the most beautiful display of a fight in the history of
100%.
UFC.
The Cody Garbrandt,
Cody
Garbrandt that beat Dominic Cruz
was
nobody would have beat him that night.
Amazing.
Nobody would have beat him that night.
That fight, and especially because I thought he was going to go in there emotional and dumb.
Yeah, like even when I look at that fight, and it was like even Aljamain Sterling or Merab, wasn't going to beat him that night.
Yeah,
even them now wasn't going to beat him. That like his wrestling was on point. His speed, he was so fast, and the way he just absolutely took everything away from Cruz,
and who, was mentally,
in my opinion, is the greatest bantamweight of all time.
Yes,
and just was there where he needed to be, and then you seen how quick the kingdom fell. You know what I mean? After that, where he got too emotionally invested with the Dillashaw fights and stuff. But yeah, I shared this on my story on Instagram. I think it was Philip Rowe, talking about like the young fighters and stuff like that. If you teach these young kids, how to be a smart fighter, how to understand fighting at a young age, that's when you're going to get longevity. If you got a kid that's 18 years old that understands fighting, and understands distance management, timing, knowing when to pull the trigger, when not to pull the trigger, that's when you're going to get something special out of somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's when you're going to create one of the best fighters you've ever seen.
What about the other part of fighting that you've really kicked up in your career over the course of being with us with 247, like the promotional aspect, the showmanship,
listen, I learned this from Chael Sonnen. Anytime a microphone is put in front of your face, that's your time to spit, right? That's your time to make something happen. That is your moment. If they ask you, who do you want to fight, right? Have an answer. Always have an answer. And same as right now, as us talking here, microphone's in front of my face, like just spit gold. You know what I mean? Perfect example is Eminem. Listen to Dr. Dre talk about the first time he had Eminem in the studio.
I just saw that.
Gave him a beat, right?
Yep.
And the beat that he gave him was, "Hi, my name is what? My name is," you know what I mean? He came off on the top of my head, or top of his head, and Eminem said, like, whatever beat he gave me, I just wanted to have words for. You know what I mean? I just wanted to have words for. So on the post fights, right, I started amping it up a little bit. You know, I mean, with that, I think the first night I did it was it Hardball? With a Wolverine 316 line?
Was that the first?
Might have been. It was either that or that.
Dana a call out before that, I thought.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I did. I did a call out for Dana with Tobias, and I think even maybe remotely a little bit with Kevin Barberina. But yeah, the Hardball fight was where I like channeled the inner Stone Cold. Like, I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, and the promo skills were, watching some of these guys on the mic. Some of the stuff was cheesy, like back in the day when
for sure.
Hulk Hogan
but the
and
Attitude
Randy
Era,
Savage, yeah. And those go, yeah, brother. You know what I mean? All coked up and sweating and shit. But yeah, the
Those
Attitude
guys
Era,
weren't on
Stone
coke.
Cold Steve Austin, like the famous Austin 316 or Stone Cold just whooped your ass.
Yeah.
The line that I used, basically, that I altered and used for Harbaugh, that line was on the fly. Like, you listen to Austin talk about it, that line was on the fly. And
they told him coming out, he said, "Oh, they just interviewed him, and
Yep.
he was like, oh, what did he say? And something about his Bible, and like, he gave scripture and stuff." And so
you can go ahead and thump your Bible, but Austin 316 says, "I just whipped your ass."
Yeah, that was.
So I used that line, Wolverine 316, with the Harbaugh, and I did that because Harbaugh's he's a believer, a Christian, and man, did my mom take that the wrong way. Oh man,
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah. So I know I pissed my mother off in a post-fight speech if I don't hear from her the night of the fight. If I hear from her the night of the fight, I get a call or a text message or something. If I don't hear from her, I'm like, well, Mom, what are you mad about? Like, this last fight,
did you know that one? Knew that.
Oh yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
This last fight, I did not get a message from her until like the next day. I texted her and was like, well, what are you mad about, Mom? Like,
what was it?
I was like, you're not going to call your son or something? She's like, phone works both ways, Ethan.
But what was the last fight?
The Rollins fight.
No, but why was she mad?
Oh, because I was arrogant, she said. I seemed like I was cocky.
I will say, like,
and I was.
Like, when the fight ended, like, I would have preferred you not do that.
Oh, you mean what I said?
No, yeah, like when you stood over him.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, for me, it
and
didn't look good for you.
It's not usually who I am or what I do, but like I said, he brought it out of me.
Yeah, I know.
When I go, if I meet you for the first time, right, or somebody introduces us, and you reach out to shake my hand, and I say, I don't shake hands with people I don't know. Push your hand away. You're going to immediately think I'm a dick.
Oh, for sure.
That's exactly what I thought about him.
And I would agree with you. Yep. I'm just saying, like, nobody knows that.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you look like a dick and you look like a bully.
And
to other people.
When people ask, I explain. That's fine. To be honest with you, I didn't care what anybody thought.
Yeah. I'm not saying you should. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, as you're.
I already had a chip from feeling like, not that I was forgotten about it, feeling like I tired of being overlooked.
Yeah,
and I still have
that's
that.
not happening as much here as is.
No. When I say that, I do not mean 247.
No. I mean, I'm even saying, like, the Pittsburgh crowd, like, everyone loves you.
I'm speaking nationally,
yeah.
Right? Like, I believe right now I'm one of the top prospects in the nation at 145 pounds, right? And I believe that I'm not put in that category by the right people that need to put me in that category, right? So that's why, I could easily be fighting lesser people or not fighting for, not have the belt and have to worry about that and just worry about racking up wins. I'm worried about proving something, right? Because I'm one of these people. If somebody tells me I can't do something, right, I'm going to kill myself trying to do it. And, like, I'm not afraid of hard work. I was born to work. Like, that's what my family did. Like, we were born to work. I'm not afraid of hard work, and I'll outwork every son of a gun there is to get where I want to go. 100%. I will go through hell to get what I want, and I'm a very determined person. So that's why somebody like Brady's next, right? That's why I want somebody like him who is considered a prospect, who is looked at as a top guy. You know what I mean? That's why I want something like that next. And to prove, like, I'm coming. You know what I mean? I'm not going anywhere. I might have been out a year. I might not have been on the headlines or in the scenes or competing for that year, but I didn't go anywhere. And the whole time I was out, I was training and I was working. I did everything I could do with one hand. You know what I mean? And it honestly was one of the better things that happened to me, being able to sharpen up that side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even remember what we were talking about before that.
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
I think the other aspect of
yeah, like back with the using the microphone and stuff to you cut promos and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just when that microphone's in front of your face, take advantage of it, right? Because it's not all the time. Now, where I lack is social media, right? Part of that is because I don't have enough time on my hands, right? I'm out, like I'm working. I'm not a full, like I'm not full time.
plus, like, you don't have internet where you live.
That too, yeah. Yeah, it's we gotta go outside and cross a couple copper sticks, you know what I mean? I'm constantly doing stuff, right? And like we got 17, 15, whatever it is, pieces of equipment to maintain and take care of, and trucks and trailers and all that stuff. Like I constantly have stuff to do, stuff at the house, in my garage at the house, projects I'm doing, stuff like that. I don't live on social media, and I'm not a full-time fighter where I go train in the morning, go home, go train in the evening.
So I think what that means is if there's someone out there who is willing to volunteer to help Ethan with his social media, that if you're a social media person or a marketing person,
Yeah,
hit us up. We'll connect you with Ethan. If you have some like volunteer time, you want to help him build up his social media. It's well needed, and I mean, I don't think people realize how much that matters.
Big
when
time.
when
And that's
people
where-
are looking at you.
that's where Lucas Siebert is a freaking amazing, like, king at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His marketing ability is just awesome.
Well, and I think
he
that's
knows how to do it. And I even talked to him. I was like, dude, you got to show me how you make all that shit. I don't know how you make that stuff. How you put them little bubbles in there and like where it like looks like comic book stuff. Like that's all cool. Like I think it's cool. For me to sit there and figure it out, I'm gonna be 2 hours in and I'm gonna have the word "the" typed. It's gonna
with
be
no bubble.
Yeah, like I'm a little bit like a little bit illiterate with technology, but
Not
like
with
and I'm learning though. I am learning, and I'm taking a little bit of time and adjusting it and like trying to figure stuff out, and adding music and all that stuff to the pictures and videos. And like I have a couple on layaway for, that I did make and stuff like that. Like one was the end of my post-fight speech against Rollins, when you specifically told us not to swear, and I totally disregarded your demands.
so awesome of you.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that was
one word is like different.
And I was the end of the night. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'll get away with it. You know what I mean? I'll get away with it on the end of the night. But it was me just basically saying, like, you're looking at him, Dana. Like, you're looking at the guy.
For sure. That's not what you said, though.
No,
but whatever.
Said you're effing looking at him.
What was your like? Okay, so you've laid some promos. Like, was there one you were like, that was my fun? That was so much fun.
I was thinking of one when I was going to fight Brady the first time. I had one that was pretty good. That was going to be like
pull that one back out.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, well,
it's got. I see you. I gotta go off of what I feel. Right? Yeah. So if I'm not feeling something like that, then I'm not it. But at the time, I was feeling it, and it was more of like a Stone Cold ECW promo.
Yeah,
where I was going to be
like just off. Off the script.
Exactly. And then
so we're gonna have Luke with a short
just have a something there to go beep beep and just have him time it. That one I think was gonna be a good one, but that probably the one with Calvin Harbaugh is like that one I thought about, and I thought, and like I said, he's a Christian, and obviously I am too myself. I'm a believer, but I used it like he's big on the social media with it, and I just used it to.
Well, Mom says you probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, Mom was not real happy. Sorry, Penny.
Hey, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So Ethan Goss has a fight April 26th against one of the top prospects in all of the nation. 14-4, folks. He's fought some of the best. He's been on Contender Series. He's already on the radar of the UFC. Let's say you're able to walk away with a win. What was it? Was there a knock?
I was trying to fix the light.
Oh, the light. Yeah. Who knows what happened? Yeah, a light went out in the studio. I don't know if you were able to tell but maybe it's the bulb. I don't know. Anyway, let's say you're able to walk away with a big win. What is next for the Wolverine? Like what in your opinion should that do?
To me, ideally, Contender Series. My daughter's going to be born end of May. I think the due date's May 28th. It's going to fall right around. And so I said to my wife, I said, you might end up showing up on our anniversary, which is May 21st, 2nd.
Oh, you're
one
not
of
even,
those two, 22nd.
The year could be like, you're not sure, but the date should be fine.
She might end up falling on our anniversary, which is the week before. And, I'm going to be obviously occupied with some things at that time. So ideally, Contender Series, which is August, September. I need a connection, though. Really, I need.
Where are you at with management, all of that stuff? Like, where
you want me to be honest?
I mean, whatever you want to do.
I'm signed with the MAG agency, which is Michael Chandler, Robbie Lawler, those guys. Rich Chow is the agent. Fuck it. I'm going to be honest. I feel like I'm a little undervalued and I'm a little underrepresented, right? I haven't really had any offers for anything. A couple, obviously one last, 2 years ago, maybe, that we talked about, the short notice Bellator one in Ireland, where it was up a weight class on 2 weeks notice against the guy that
it was never offered.
It was they contacted me about it.
Yeah.
And it was against a guy that had 9 fights in Bellator, and they were only offering a 1-fight deal. And I was fine with everything, but I wanted more than 1 fight. I was the one taking the big risk, going up a weight class, against one of their top guys. I think the dude was like 9-1 or 10-1 or something.
Going overseas.
Yep, going overseas. I was going to get double taxed. I come to find out after Cody Law explained to me when he was at Mad Factory one day, he's like, dude, don't fight overseas. I'm telling you right now, you get taxed over there and you get taxed when you come back. So it's like, even if I'd have won, say I'd have won 20 grand, I'd have come home with 9. So that would have sucked. But the only thing I asked was make it 2 fights. And you and I discussed this in private. Like, if something goes wrong, then I got a shot to redeem myself, at my weight class. And that kind of fell on deaf ears when I brought it up to him. It was just kind of like, oh, well, I think they're going to try to find somebody that's local. It's fine. I don't blame them. One of the other offers was the Combat Global 100,000 to win tournament on freaking 5 days notice. I was into it. Darren was not so much into it.
Yeah.
I got shut down immediately. We had no idea who we were fighting either because they had nobody listed. After it came out, I would have guaranteed been in the finals of that. 100% guaranteed made the finals of that.
So was that a legitimate offer? Like this was
I think
yours
if I
to take?
It was an option.
Because
I don't know for sure.
I don't consider that a discussion what was happening
exactly.
with Bellator.
Yes, there was nothing official. Another offer was Cage Titans against Don Shannis. When I previously told them the only date that I couldn't do was whatever date my brother's wedding was. They call me up, have this conversation. It's on my brother's wedding day. It's like, I told you guys, like, I got to be there for my brother. And, my brother, God love him, before that, I think it was like not long after I won the belt or defended the belt or something. He was like, me and Emily talked, his wife, if you get a call, we want you to go. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm your best man. I got to shred you on the freaking microphone. Like, I got to give a speech. Like, I got to be there. He's like, no, we want you to go. Like, and we'll find a way to watch it over up there. It's part of the sacrifice of what you would give up if something like that happens.
Sure.
But, yeah, I feel like they don't look as me as a prospect. As back to what I said earlier, I feel that they don't favor me. Like,
Well,
I
think
see some things going on, right? And I'm a very observant person, and I watch some things. And I talked to him briefly about the show in Vegas, and pretty much begged him for a shot. Fell on deaf ears, nothing. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? You guys, at this point, I feel like you guys have let me know where I stand and what you think of me.
Yeah.
So we're eventually, I got business to take care of in April, right? So that's the last thing on my mind right now. Eventually, we're going to have a come to Jesus conversation, and it's either going to be one way or the other.
Yeah.
There's going to be no more black or white for me. And this isn't me downing them, right? I'm just being honest with you on how I feel in the situation that I'm in. I know I actually just helped them talk to Siebert, right? I spoke to Siebert. They reached out to me, asked me. I talked to Siebert. Siebert signed with them. And, they offered Siebert some stuff they never offered me. And it's like, all right, whatever, it is what it is. I truly believe they will do great things for Lucas. I really do. They like guys like him that are young, Division I college wrestlers coming up. Gavin Teasdale, he signed with them. He's fighting tonight at Fury. They got him a fight at Fury. Me personally, I've never been offered a fight at Fury. And I know they got 28 fights on a card or 26 fights on a card tonight. Like, they got
what
room
is up with that.
I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't even know anyone would want to do that.
And the best thing about Fury is Mick Maynard's always there.
Yeah.
Right? So you're in front of, and that was the whole reason why I wanted to go to Vegas, because you're in front of important people. Sure. Literally, physically in front of important people.
Yeah.
Because the West Coast is bigger than the East Coast when it comes to the fighting world, right? Las Vegas is that's your honey hole.
They're your Mecca.
That's exactly. That's where it is. And, unfortunately on the East Coast, we don't get that kind of exposure of the eyes, especially in Pennsylvania. It's one thing if you're down in Florida, or even Jersey's pretty heavy. Like Philly area is pretty heavy. But, I just don't get that. I feel like I don't get the exposure that I need to. I feel like it's their job to help that.
Well, the thing that I always think is, like, I just don't understand, like, why they went after you if they weren't. Exactly. If they didn't see it, like, all you've done since you signed with them is win against impressive.
You name me
opponents.
one other guy in the state of Pennsylvania right now that's on the run that I'm on.
No one.
Right? Like, I'm on the biggest run in the state. Like, and I've talked to Kama about this. Trying to put together and be consistent 7 times in a row in this sport at the level we're doing it at,
almost impossible.
I mean, you see the greats do it, guys like John Jones and stuff, but I'm a guy that failed and a guy that figured it out, and it's to me, it feels like it's overlooked because I failed earlier in my career, and it sucks and it's annoying and it's frustrating as can be. I mean, extremely frustrating, but it is what it is. If that's the way they feel, I want to know how they feel. If that's the way they feel, then that's fine. We can part ways, water under the bridge. No, I mean, big deal.
I can tell you as someone who's promoted you, I'm frustrated for you.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you and I have had many private conversations about
this. We talk a lot. As a matter of fact, we were talking about how we're like
when there's
two little schoolgirls on the phone sometimes.
When there's things that happen, like somebody falls out of a fight, like the Edson Barboza falling out of Seattle. I 100% would have stepped. I was sick. The week before that. I'm still not over it. and I would have stepped in for that.
So you were on weight, being sick.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I was.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I wasn't. It wouldn't have been much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I ended up losing a bunch of weight from being. I was like
That's-
bedridden for 3 days.
That's the only good thing about being sick is like
I would have 100% have stepped in for the opportunity against Steve Garcia. But
those are
told,
ones that always make
Yeah.
sense because they don't offer you a 1-fight deal. Those
was
are usually
told,
4-fight.
You know, the exact response was, "I don't think we're quite on the radar yet." Motherfucker, put me on the radar then.
Yeah,
like, you know, as I said, I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm really not. It's just, I think like, I'm maybe considered a vet, and they're more into the young up and coming guys.
I think they see you as a journeyman.
Yeah,
or
maybe that.
Whatever they.
And that's fine if you view me that way.
But then,
let me go.
But then why'd you come after me?
Yep.
And like, if you're not gonna, yeah, that's what's frustrating. Is like
I know, as far as I know, you know, not last season, the season before, I was in for selection for Contender Series, and I agree with them. You know, I was competing against guys that are 14-1, you know, who they want to sign or anything like that. But I don't give a shit if it's a week's notice for Contender Series. Call me. You know what I mean? I've done it before. I've stepped up on 4 days' notice. I've fought twice in 10 days. Like, I fought the #1 ranked kid in the country as an amateur on 4 weeks' notice. Like, it does, like, when it's a shot at something like that, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Catching up on some comments here, I see Charlie's going a little crazy here. He says his wife put women's undies on him today. That talking about you,
Charlie Gathers?
Yeah.
And
then he said,
"Shut up, Chuck. I'm gonna choke
and
you
then
out."
He says Goss needs to drop to 135 and be a triple champ.
Whew. I think I might have a better shot going to 170. At some time, like before, when I come back with the Rollins fight, it would have been a weight cut to 170. Coming off the injury, I was definitely a little. I think I was up to like 183 or something like that.
I think this is Ryan Kavanaugh. RJ, why isn't his picture on there? Ethan has a great historical perspective of the game, both local MMA and understanding how the game works.
That's my dude right there, Ryan Kavanaugh.
And then I'm just trying to catch up on these. Jared Billy thinks it's a shame that you haven't had the opportunity because you're an amazing fighter. And yeah, I feel like I missed a comment from.
It's hard to get in. There's no doubt about that. It's hard to get in. It's hard to get noticed. You know, like in Kama's instance, Kama had somebody that went to bat for him. You know, the opportunity was right, timing was right, and that's the big thing. It's opportunity and timing. Kama had somebody to go.
What was Kama's record when he got his shot?
13-6,
and you are
12-6.
Yeah,
and I was told that, well, the division you're in's deep. Like, I get it. Like, and that, I'm on a 7-fight win streak in the deepest division, in the nation between us and lightweight. Well, a part of that win streak's a lightweight.
Yeah, like, for sure.
So, like I said, it gets frustrating 100% when you see. So one of the ones that really frustrated me was Solo fought him and beat him. He trained with Bryce Mitchell. He's in the UFC. Got to stepped in at 155. Lost to a guy that I beat.
Like a while ago, or
no, just last year.
Michael Murphy?
No.
You said Solo beat him.
Hold on.
Looking at guys that Solo beat. Tyler Stewart?
No.
Yeah, he's.
I'll tell you here. 1 second.
After you or before you?
He beat him before me.
Oh, before you. Then it wasn't a year ago.
No, it actually beat him like early in his career.
Gaston Bolaños?
No. I'm trying to find him. AJ Cunningham.
AJ, yeah.
AJ Cunningham got a shot in the UFC. Stepped up at 155 against Klein or whatever that dude. The dude was stud. I think the guy beat Devontae Smith in the UFC by a split decision. But AJ Cunningham got to step up for that fight. He lost to Solo. And I like, it was recently right after I beat Solo. And I'm like, man, why am I not even being looked at? Like, why am I not being considered? And, you know, at the end of the day, just more work to do. Like, whether it's social media presence, whether it's fighting, you know what I mean? I know they like finishes. You know, out of my last I got 2 finishes out of my last 3 fights, you know, both off submissions, but you know, I know obviously the big knockouts and stuff are more appealing. So hopefully something like that comes.
But, for sure. Always looking for that. Yeah, no, I mean,
it's like
I've felt your frustration over time, and I you know, we've been in this together for, you know,
I'm almost 15 years deep into this game.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I feel like I'm owed it, but I feel like I deserve it. Right?
Yeah.
And I would never say that if I wasn't where I was at. You know, if I was 10 and 11, I wouldn't tell you that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But you know, I put together a run over guys with winning records. You know, I'm not beating guys that are, you know, 4 and 10, you know, something like that. I'm beating other guys that are looked at. I've beaten other champions in other divisions. Like,
let's shift the conversation a little bit. Let's talk about your 247 grappling history.
That's not good. That's not good.
Let's talk about that. So,
not good.
We have,
why you got to bring up bad times?
Sprawl in the Berg, the first show.
Yeah,
you were on that.
Yeah,
how'd that go?
I thought it went good.
Yeah, okay.
The judges didn't think it went good for me. Basically, what you seen was MMA grappling versus competition BJJ. And, you know, I was a little unaware of how the scoring credential was. I thought, you know, get on top of the guy, control him, and smash him. Put him in the fence, like make him miserable. That's exactly what we did. I remember Ray being like, you did awesome. He's like, you did exactly what we wanted you to do. You did awesome. And then I lost, and I was like, and Renee, who was the ref that night?
Sousa,
yeah. He was like, listen, man, it was super close, but like he had more attempts. And like if you watch it back, like while I was on top, there was a couple of times he stuck his leg out and like shook his leg, and I was like, are they calling that an attempt? Because I don't like. One time I think he tried to heel hook or something, and I spun out of it. And I mean, he's a leg lock guy.
Watching it from my perspective and not being like an expert at this at all, I thought it was really close.
And I agree with you. I don't think that it wasn't. I just felt like I controlled it. But you know, Sage is an amazing grappler. You know,
for sure.
He's went on and beat how many other people, but. I should have been better, you know. Really, I lost because I wasn't good enough. Same shit that I said earlier.
Then we had another surprise appearance.
With Mock. I had no idea. I had no idea who Jeff Mock was. To this day, if I would have never grappled him, I wouldn't have known who he was.
Yeah.
You guys had a thing on Facebook.
And now you do.
Yeah, you guys had a thing on Facebook on who you were looking to match, and I was like, I seen a 145-pound black belt, and I don't know if I text Hunter and was like, hey, like, I'm gonna be there regardless. I got to call the fights with Ty. Like, we got to do the commentary. Why don't I just step in? He's like, dude, are you serious? I was like, it's grappling. I don't care. Like, it's grappling. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And I get there, you know, or he agrees to it, which he denied. I guess he denied somebody a blue belt or something before that.
I
was
think
bigger.
I think it had more to do with like.
I think he was okay with it with me because I'm a black belt too.
Yeah.
And you know, he didn't care about the weight size, but
he actually allowed the
we went to one
fought up.
Yeah, we went to 165, and I'm in the back, and I'm like, so I got my shorts on underneath my pants and stuff. There was a couple people. As soon as I got in the parking lot, Colin was there, and he's like, dude, you grappling tonight? It's like, yeah, shh, don't tell anyone. He's like, all right. So I'm in the back.
Because people were guessing based on the silhouette.
Yeah, and one was definitely me, and the other one was Jake Schilling. And nobody, like, I don't think anybody could tell. I think Chalka picked up one. He's like, that looks like Jake.
Jake ain't grabbed one.
And we, so I get here to the venue, it's all hush hush, and I'm like, all right, cool. This is gonna be fun. It's just gonna be fun. And I go to the back and I'm stretching, and the fighters had their fighter meeting, and that's my only time to like at least stretch. So I'm just like stretching out, and Lucas walks in, he looks at me, he's like, dude, what are you doing? So I'm stretching. He's like, yeah, obviously, but why? I was like, He's like, no, I don't know.
Who was this?
Lucas.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm grappling tonight. And he was like, oh shit, really? He's like, you're the one who stepped up to that 40. I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, dude, you're nuts. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm literally in pants and, you know what I mean? Got my shorts and stuff on underneath it, my cup and stuff. And we get out there and, obviously I got what I deserved for not taking something serious.
You kind of did.
Yeah. I mean, I knew he was after I found out who he was, man, this kid's like, he's legit.
Yeah.
Like he's like
super legit.
He's like competing in world-class tournaments and stuff, and like, holding his own and beating some really good guys. I'm like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm like, all right.
It's probably best you didn't know that.
I'm like, hopefully I just like keep him from heel hooking me or something. I just didn't want to get hurt. You know what I mean? That was the main thing. I had to tape my hand up and stuff because I still wasn't quite over that.
You were
I was still
close
building.
you were close to being ready to go.
I wasn't there yet, but I was still building. And they did that, and then the Stone Cold music hit, and I was like, I didn't know you were doing that. And Hunter just started laughing, and we copped off the table and stepped in there and had a little bit of fun. It was like 2 or 3 minutes until I got caught, but
it was like 12 seconds, bro.
It wasn't that long because we were on the feet for a little while. It was after he pulled guard, but yeah, I had no idea who he was. Not a single clue. And then they're like, oh, he's 10th Planet. I'm like, great. Like, they're the fun guys to roll with. 10th Planet guys.
You learned. You done learned. What else you got, bro?
How's your diet going?
What do you mean?
I didn't notice any difference in you. You told me you was on a diet last time I seen you.
I didn't say I was on a diet. I said I was working out.
I can tell you're not on a diet. That's why I was asking you how your diet was.
You're such trash.
I'm a dick. Well, there's a few things in the world that
you're a dick
won't change, and me being a dick's one of them.
How's your femininity? Your ability to create female babies?
Obviously, it's pretty good, unless somebody else snuck home there. And
actually, the funny thing is, like, there's no difference with us, like.
Well, how do you figure?
Like creating a boy versus creating a girl. Like, you're not.
Well, your boys are kind of girly, so that is true.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're like
true. Maybe the older
little
one.
princesses.
Yeah. The older one, he's little. He's starting to get manly.
He's
going with Penn State.
Yeah,
Penn State, Maine or
Maine.
Yeah,
he wouldn't go.
So I guess you're going to be out my way.
So he didn't get into Penn State, Maine first.
Yeah, a lot of times that happens.
And then he asked them to reconsider and like pleaded with them and changed the major, which he's not gonna do.
What's he majoring
in? Something artistic.
Yeah.
And there's nothing artistic about him.
Yeah, dude. Penn State. Obviously I grew up and spent a lot of time over there.
Yeah.
We were, when we were in high school, we'd go over there and drive around downtown and walk around the streets and stuff. And, by the time you turn 21, go over there. Actually, a great buddy of mine, AJ Madden, he used to be the general manager of a place called Indigo, and they like sponsored me. And I think it's now called The Basement.
AJ Madden, that's the dude.
You talked to him.
Yeah.
AJ is one of the greatest human beings you'll ever deal with. He's a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
It really is what he is. And if you ever get a chance,
that's why he doesn't coach you at all.
Because
you don't have a life.
I suck at life. Yeah. No, he's if you ever get a chance, check out his podcast. I coach AJ Madden. He had me on it there last year. He interviews like legit people. Like he interviewed Kobe Bryant's like mental coach or something. Like he worked like a lot of high level people that he works through. One of the greatest guys I've ever met in the sport. Like that was how I met him. I used to train with him. But yeah, he was at the time he was a general manager back then. So every time I would fight, especially like that was when we were fighting in Altoona and Johnstown, he would be like, okay, he would go to the fight, corner me, then he would change, go to work, and he'll be like, I'll see you in an hour. We'd leave the fight, get to the venue, or get to the bar, and there's always a line because it was like a big dance club, and we'd walk. We had VIP status. We'd go right past the line. They'd let us right in. We got in for free. We got free drinks. You walk down in there on the TVs and say congratulations. At the time I won an amateur title. Congratulations, like to the newly amateur champions and Wolverine Goss here. And then we were me and John Urschel was there. Who, if you didn't know who John was, he was a lineman for Penn State, like academically a genius. And then went on to play for the Baltimore Ravens. And me and John Urschel were in there at Indigo one night, and there's people going nuts. They see John, they want to get pictures and stuff, and he'd be like, yeah, you got to get a picture of them too. So we'd like all get pictures and stuff. We ended up signing autographs, and we might have even signed a pair of boobies. We might not have. That was pretty cool. That was John's doing though. John pulled that off for us.
Wait. So you might have, or you did?
No, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Were they nice boobies?
I mean, we did. We just signed.
I mean, were they nice boobies?
They were big boobies.
They were large boobies.
Yeah,
but maybe
they were.
not.
They were large. You never know. Some of them large ones might hit the floor when they're unstrapped. You just don't know.
You pull them down.
Yeah.
Shoestrings.
Exactly. Right. And the small ones stay perky forever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we used to have some good times over there. Definitely. So your boy's in for a fun time when he gets to Penn State.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
I'm sure you're just like regretting that.
No, I it was better than the alternatives. So
what was the alternative?
Kentucky, and
so he's staying in state.
He's staying like 2.5 hours away, which is more important to me than. The problem with going like 6 hours away is I felt like there's gonna be times where he calls me on Friday and is like, Dad, can you come get me?
Yeah.
And I was like, you're 6 out. No, like the answer is no. Whereas now the answer is almost always going to be able to be yes.
They're not allowed to like have their own car or anything.
Not in Penn State first year.
Yeah, let's say first year. I didn't think they were allowed to have their own car.
They have to live in the dorms too.
Yeah. There's so we ended up in frat houses over there, and I mean huge freaking places.
Oh yeah, my best friend was a Sigma Chi at Penn State, and he lived in the house, and it's just a mansion. It's literally a mansion.
Me and a buddy ended up in a frat house one night and spent the night, and I was sleeping on the couch, and he was on a recliner, and I remember he woke up and just got up and went outside. We weren't in a frat house. We were at a frat house party, and then we went to this apartment complex. And he got up and walked out. And I'm laying there on the couch, and I'm like, maybe he had to go throw up or because we were blitzed. Yeah. I mean, blitzed. And
this is when you were older than 11.
I was 21 at the time. So I did a little bit of drinking. I did a little bit of drinking after 16. But we ended up, he didn't come in for like 10 minutes, and I go outside in my underwear, Jordan, like looking for him, can't find him. Like, oh man, like, well, I guess it's whatever. Like, I don't know. Guess we'll try to find him in the morning. I go back in and go to sleep. The phone's ringing in the morning. I wake up and it's his phone. And I'm like,
wait, you had his phone?
He left it there. No, he left it there. And it was actually the guy's wife calling. Now, like, she wasn't his wife at his time. She's his wife now. And because he apparently called her, like, I don't know how many times drunk out her. I'm driving around Penn State, like, looking for this kid, looking for him, can't find him. Like, we're contacting his stepmom. We're like,
so is this once it's like light outside in the morning?
Oh yeah, this is like late in the morning. finally we get a hold of his stepmom, and she's like, I don't know. And she's like, he's downstairs sleeping on the couch.
He went home.
Dude, he ran. So this dude had a problem with running when he drank. He would, if he was in cowboy boots and drinking, he would run home. Like literally run home. And he left. And dude, he ran from, we were clear out. I don't know how well you know Penn State. We were clear out on Atherton by the Sheets.
Atherton, yeah.
And he went all the way down Atherton to the main drag and went all the way out towards Pine Grove Mountain to the Exxon, and then called himself a cab and then drove 40 minutes home in a cab. And I'm like, what that bill cost? He's like, I wouldn't even look at it. He's like, I didn't even want to know.
That's crazy.
We used to ride the Harleys over there. There was some night we did some stupid. I mean, we should have ended up arrested, or dead.
Oh, I think about how many times I should be dead.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it like we went from the Indigo bar one night, we got all sloshed up and left. We pulled out. We had another buddy that was with us, and he was drunk, and he's like, Don't do anything stupid. Remain calm. Like, all right. I was actually sober. I didn't really drink that night. The rest of them kind of did. We get to the first red light. I pull up and stop, and he freaking just right through it on out the red. And then the kid sitting beside me on the bike, he just like looks around, and he just pulls out real slow. Thank God there was no cars coming. It was 2:00 in the morning. We get out to the Exxon. The one kid passes out sitting on his bike. Like, I have a picture of it somewhere. His head's down on the handlebars. He's just laying there sleeping. And I'm like, another kid's trying to get gas and told this guy in the store that was working the wrong gas pump. And he goes out there and he's trying to get gas. He can't get gas. He's all drunk and pissed off. And he's like, I'm going to beat that geeky, nerdy mother effer up. And like going on. So I had to push his bike to the right pump till we get to the top of the mountain. And my buddy we pull over, and he just gets off his bike and stumbles to the bench, and he's done. So now we're stuck on the mountain with the dude passed out on our Harleys. So I have to call my brother and get him out of bed. I had to call another buddy. Hey, you got to pick my brother up, come to the top of the mountain. We got to get my buddy's bike out of here. He's done. So we get him loaded up. My brother gets on his bike. We get down to the bottom of the mountain. I had another buddy, the one that told us to remain calm but ran the first red light. We stop at the bottom of the mountain. He starts doing a freaking burnout. I'm in front of him. He starts doing a burnout and just shredding rubber all over my brother on the other buddy's bike that passed out. And as soon as he's looking back and lets off the brake, freaking T-bones me, busts my freaking foot peg and shifter off the bike. And then it started to rain, and I would ride home with like reaching down, like pulling the lever, the linkage up to like shift my bike back and forth. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. Like the stupid shit that we did.
That was yeah. All the things you think about, like that. I don't think
I'd be afraid to do it.
Most kids do that stuff now. Like they just do other dumb stuff.
My whole life has been near-death experiences. Working with my dad is a near-death experience. Like
daily.
He puts you in sketchy spots. Like we tear a lot of buildings down.
Nothing bad will ever happen here.
We tear a lot of buildings down.
I've done this for 40 years, kid.
We tore a chicken coop, and he's all about taking buildings wholesale if he can take them wholesale. So we take this building up, we load it up. We have this big 4-way and all these straps, and we'll pick it up with a big hose, set it on the trailer. We get back. He's like, crawl up there and hook that chain up. So I crawl up on top of this thing. He lifts me up with the hoe. I crawl up on top of this thing, hook the chain up. And I hook the chain up, and I look, and where he's at, like we're at a bank that drops way off. It's like a 30-foot drop. It's like where he filled out a bunch of fill back in behind our shop. And in order to put the chicken coop where he wanted to, he had to swing it out around the bank. I was like, how am I going to get down? You brought me up with a bucket. He looks over, looks back. Hang on. He lifted that building up with me on it. And I'll just like grab the 4-way chains, and he just swings me out over the edge of that freaking cliff thing, and then sets it down where he wants it. And then I unhook it, and then he lets me down off of it. And I was like, after he's done, I was like, you do not care about my well-being, do you? And he goes, you didn't get hurt. Like, what are you complaining about? You didn't get hurt.
What a baby.
Yeah, like this was just a year or two ago he did that. But constantly stuff like that.
Does your wife know this?
Oh yeah, she knows how. She knows. I took Just this year, I took a 16-foot wide building through the middle of town on a Saturday morning. And for me to get it out of where it was at, we all loaded this thing up. It was a big shed, and my brother was taking it up at his place. We loaded this thing up on my truck and trailer, and we're in between two houses, and I literally rubbed the houses pulling this thing out. That's how wide this thing was. I got out on the street and just took the whole street up and drove it like 2 miles. I went through town and drove it like 2 miles out the road. And like people were standing outside watching
you didn't have
us.
Any pilot at all?
Just
like a normal vehicle.
Yeah, my brother ran in front of us. I was in my small dump truck with the equipment trailer on it, and Dad was behind me, and he was back behind me, like going back and forth because he couldn't see around me. And like my brother was getting people to pull over, you know what I mean? Because I was coming through town. It's like totally, hopefully no DOT officers listening to this, because totally illegal stuff.
Oh, for sure.
But that's what I said to Dad. I was like, if it don't near kill us, get us arrested,
you're not even
something,
interested in the
you're
project.
Just like, what the hell? Like, why do you put us in these spots? Constantly.
This is why you need a son.
Exactly, because I need somebody I got to do that too.
Exactly.
That's what I told my wife. I am like out. I only got all my dogs and cats are girls too. I ain't got one boy dog. Like,
you're like,
man,
you're like the opposite of my wife. My wife's filled with boys at the house.
Maybe Denise should just move out with me, and her and I can start a life together. And
hey, listen,
leave you out of it.
She doesn't have a life now, so
I know.
At least she'll have a life.
Maybe I could save her.
Hey,
so
maybe I doubt it.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish.
Anything would be better than what she deals with on a daily.
I mean,
I'm sure
that might be true. But I bet you, I think she actually loves me. I do. I think she does.
You think?
She might be crazy, but she does.
Or does she just have a high life insurance policy on you?
Well, that too. But I'm still alive, so it's not that high. All right. Well, we are in 2 hours. I think
that was a long one.
Yeah.
It
was fun. Fun. We only drank one beer too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that was one of the better ones that we've had.
Nice. I mean,
yeah.
With Ethan,
it would have been fun with Darren.
Like, we gotta get Darren here.
Yeah.
We had him at the old. That was a good one.
Him and Cam.
That was funny.
There's a low, like, it's constant in our gym. Like last night, Dan was the target. He was the one getting all the abuse.
Yeah.
Like when somebody messes up or something, that's like.
So is he back?
Yeah. So Dan's got a lot of outside, fighting stuff going on in life. He's active military.
Yeah.
He goes away constantly for that.
Yeah.
He just had his third kid.
Okay. He does know how this happens, right?
He has kids.
He's young. He's too young to have 3 kids.
Oh, he's only a year younger than me. 2 years younger than me.
Well, he looks.
Dan is interesting.
I mean, Dan looks like 10 years younger than
Dan.
me,
You think I'm mountain man? That kid is mountain man. Like, grew up.
Oh, I believe.
Didn't go to school until he was in 9th grade. Has like 14. No joke. Has like 14 brothers and sisters.
And he started early.
Yeah, like his oldest brother's like 55.
That's crazy.
And he wasn't allowed to have shoes. He was allowed to have church shoes and work boots. Like his dad was a logger. Other than that, when he was around home, he had to be barefoot. Like they caught him.
You got to toughen up them feet.
Him and his brother caught an emu running around in the woods because they didn't know what it was and killed it. Like a emu bird. Like it was just randomly running around the woods around the sawmill.
What?
Dude, he is like he didn't know how to read until he was 12 years old. Like Dan is mountain man. Dan might as well be Amish.
Dan is
he's
awesome.
Just missing the beard.
That makes me like him so much more.
Dan's got an interesting story. Like if he talks about his, life and growing up.
Has Dan been? Dan's never been on the podcast. We need to get him.
Dan and Dybert are like best friends.
I think we need. Are they?
Yeah. So they went to school together.
Oh, so they've been best friends.
Yeah, they went to school together, and Dybert was always on the wrestling scene ever since he was a kid. And like I said, Dan didn't start wrestling until he was in 9th grade. And I think Dan was like 1 second away from making the podium at States his senior year. And, but yeah, those two, that's how Dybert came to the gym was, coming down and training with Dan.
Yeah.
And, those two grew up together and all that stuff and best friends. And like Divert knows Dan's wife and all that stuff. They were both at Clarion together at one point and all that shit.
I think we should have like a non-live podcast where we have like the Gorilla House team come down here and we can have like as many people as we can fit in here.
Yeah.
But we can't be live because I think it'd just be too crazy.
I seen Cam last night for the first time.
What?
Yeah.
You told me you haven't seen Cam in a while.
Yeah, I had to teach class last night because we just got 2 saunas installed
nice
at Gorilla House. And I got there early because I was out looking for parts. And I got there early, so I helped Ray finish up. Like, he was doing the flooring and stuff. I went there to help Ray finish up. And he had some stuff he had to do with that. So I ended up teaching the jiu-jitsu class last night, which our jiu-jitsu class is growing, like big time growing. Mm-hmm. And we're getting a pretty big group all the time. And so it was like, hour notice. I knew I was teaching class. I had no idea what I was teaching. Didn't think about it. Mm-hmm. I get in there and I got freaking 20-some guys like in class. And it's like, oh, man. I'll go to the back. And I'm like getting dressed and I look out and I see this little guy wearing a purple belt and glasses. And I was like, the other guy's like, Doug. He's like, yeah. I was like, who is that? He's like, Cam. And I was like, Cam. Cam turns around and I see his like thick glasses. So like he's clear across the mat. And I was like, Cam. I was like, get back here. He's like, for what? I said, because I'm putting a blue belt on you. Yeah, I forgot that he's actually a brown belt now. And we promoted him to brown, and this is Cam. Cam forgot his brown belt, so he brought his purple belt. Cam, that's Cam. Like he'll go throw a white belt on because he forgot a belt. Like, it's just whatever. So I'm like, what have you been doing with your life? Like, what are you doing? I haven't seen you forever. He's like, dude, I'm so bored. I'm like, what do you mean you're so bored? He's like, well, like the other night I didn't have anything to do in my house, so I literally went around and tightened up all the doorknobs. I was like, come to the gym. He's like, well, the problem is like I start work late. I said, because you stay up late. Yeah.
Wait, does he work from home?
No, he works for Coral. I think they do. He's like a steel. They build steel structure.
Okay.
And he's like an engineer for them, civil engineer for them. But he's allowed to, if he wants to go in at 10, he can go in at 10. If he wants to go in at 7, he can go in at 7. He stays up all night, goes to work at 10.
What's he do?
I don't know.
Like, is he just playing on
probably
the
drinking?
phone?
I don't know. Like,
is he drinking?
You text that kid? Nothing. Text him again? Nothing.
Well, that's always been the case.
Won't ever answer text messages. I called him the other night just for shits and giggles, like just to talk to him, as I haven't seen him in a long time. I was like, what's up? What are you doing in life? He didn't answer, but he did text me. He was like, what'd you need? And I was like,
I called.
Yeah, I was just calling to chat, chitty chat. You know what I mean? And then I seen him here at the gym, and he was like, yeah, no, I'm just like, man, I'm bored. Just like, get your ass out of bed and go to work early and then come to the gym. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like, but what's he like? I guess when you're
I don't care if he
I stayed up late when I was younger, but
yeah,
now I'm like,
you get into a funk like that where you do it like that for a little period of time, and then it's hard to break.
Yeah.
You don't want to get out of it.
But I get up too early. Like, I have to be in bed by like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Oh, you see, I don't touch bed till 11. And I usually like this time of year because it's freezing cold out, and I'm not going out digging holes.
Yeah.
Like, it takes. I work 8 hours a day and get 3 hours done. Like, it just ain't worth it. So this time of year, like I get up by 8. You know what I mean? Usually in the summertime and stuff, it's between 6 and 7. I try to get up and get moving. Sometimes it depends. You might have a day where you don't get up till 8, or I usually try to be moving by 8 o'clock at least.
Yeah.
You know, whether you got to
today
go
I
get stuff
slept
ready.
in. I didn't get up till 7. But normally I'm up at 5:30, just depending on the day.
Yeah, like when I had to work at the prison down in Camp Hill for that other company that I used to work for, I do like subcontracting work for them. We were 2 hours away in Camp Hill, and we were driving it every day. So we were leaving Huntington at 4 o'clock. So I'm up at 3:30. You know what I mean? Driving 2 hours to Camp Hill prison, working in a horrible prison. You know what I mean? Doing shit work in a prison, and it was and then driving 2 hours back home and starting it all, like getting home at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and then starting it all over again.
Yeah, it
sucked.
It's a grind.
That was in the middle of when I got hurt. I was down there doing that. We start getting busy March, April, like stuff starts cutting loose for me and Dad. But I got hurt. We were supposed to fight in April. I was training, got hurt.
You mean when Dybert injured
Yep,
you?
when Dybert injured me.
Yeah.
Yep. He injured me. I got
champ.
Yep. I had to take a week.
Dybert wasn't careful with the champ.
Yep. I had to take a week and go to Camp Hill. So like I was going to be down there working. I'm supposed to be done in a week. I got down there. First day I got down there, I get a phone call from my brother at 5 o'clock in the morning. My dad had to be taken to the hospital because he was having pancreas issues, like stomach pain, severe stomach pain. He was supposed to be starting. We were in the middle of a job for Darren already in Bedford that we were tied up with, and he was supposed to start another job for Darren at a place in Mount Union that day. And I'm in a prison where I'm not allowed to have a cell phone or anything. And I get down there in the morning. I'm there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and my brother calls and said, "Hey, we're taking Dad to the hospital. He's not." I got to, leave my phone in the truck all day in the prison. I call the guys from Darren's work and be like, "Listen, Dad got to go to the hospital. All this stuff's going on right now. Like, I'll try to take care of you tomorrow." So I call the company that I'm supposed to be working for and being like, "Hey, I got to pull out. Like, Dad's in the hospital. Like, we're going to have to put this on hold." So I ended up going and taking care of Dad's stuff that he was supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I was injured with a busted up hand. And then like everything was just falling out of place. And that was before I pulled out of the fight.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you knew that I was injured, but I was just trying to think if it was something I could train through or not.
Yeah. You kept like,
we went like 2 weeks or something before we tried to push. And I remember at practice at one time, I think somebody rolled over.
You went to two different hand people.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I went and had I had to have an MRI and all that stuff. And then they ended up telling me what I did and that I needed surgery. And I rolled out. I was like, I can tape up and go through it. I got pushed and I heard it again while we were grappling, and Ray just looked at me and goes, "You already know the answer." I just put my head down like,
and that was the first time you pulled out of a 247 fight.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It wasn't in the cards. Everything else that was going on, plus that, but wasn't in the cards.
We're right back at it because April 26th.
Yep.
Ethan Goss defends his featherweight title against Brady Huang from California, 14-4. He's fought all the best. It's going to be an awesome night of fights. I'll tell you what.
I think he trains with Mayhem Miller, and Mayhem Miller corners him. So I don't know if
really.
I don't remember Mayhem had that clip the first time we were going to fight, talking about our fight.
Oh yeah.
I don't. But my memory's terrible.
Yeah, well,
trash.
You're kind of stupid, so it makes sense.
Not kind of.
Well, you're stupid.
See, this is.
But yeah, I mean, maybe he comes out with him to corner him. I don't know.
That'd be awesome. Get your tickets once they come out. We could put tickets on sale. We have a bunch of fights already for that one, but tickets should be out the next couple weeks. Should be available next couple weeks. In addition, March 15th is a huge card. We have Kama Worthy, we have Lucas Siebert, we have Bridget Chase, we have all the Clayton Hoot Lee, we have a bunch of other great fights. So you'll want to pick up those tickets now at 247fighting.com. That'll jump you, click the buy tickets, and it'll take you to our Eventbrite page. Going to be a great year 2025 with us getting into the venue and having regular shows. It's going to be a really special, and it's going to advance Pittsburgh MMA. And along with that, it will also advance all combat sports here in Pittsburgh, whether it be boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai. Like, we're going to do all of those things. Our grappling event series will take off. We're not going to schedule anything until we're 100% in the venue because having to postpone and cancel things was not ideal. So when we get that building permit, the occupancy permit, that's when we're going to start slotting things and making sure it all happens. So Ethan Goss will be At Brawl in the Berg 28, we have Brawl in the Berg 27 coming up March 15th.
I'll be there too.
Ethan Goss is always there. He's either fighting or commentating, one or the other. And he doesn't do either one very well, but we like to keep him busy.
Hey, somebody's got to save the day at this place.
Exactly. And that's always...
It's either me or Hunter or Danny.
How did I do that?
This is back to the him being stupid part, guys. Anyone that's watching right now.
And I'm done. I'm so tired. I'm going home and going to bed.
Go to bed.
Thank you all for watching. And we'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.
Deuces.